What's up, brother? I see one person, and it's Riley. Woo! What a day. 8 people are here. Holy cow. Guys, it's so funny. Like, it was literally like, I swear, like yesterday I could see without my glasses, and then all of a sudden, like 1 minute later, I can't see without glasses on. It happens. But it wasn't supposed to happen to me. Well, hello, Buzzed Swan. Buzzed Swan. Wait, that's like, isn't it a buzzed bee or a floating swan? Yeah, floating swan. Buzzing bees makes me think of hair. Oh, let me.
Oh, you probably need to flip that all the way around.
Oh, it won't reach. Hold on. I might have to flip the camera around. Is it going to reach? I'll be careful. I won't tip the camera over. Hello, Eric, John. Hello, everybody. All right, here's the rules for tonight. Nobody asked me how I shot today. Okay, I'll share. Drunken Swan. No, so I will get it out of the way. I played my worst round of golf of the season, minus a couple rounds where I was like, when I was dealing with the E. coli, which I just like mentally chalked up. But I played my worst rated round of the year as far as where like there's nothing wrong. Everything was fine. You know, sometimes you miss a hole. Sometimes you throw out of bounds. Sometimes it happens twice in a row. And sometimes it happens over and over and over again. It was horrific. But if you watched me, you would not have been able to tell how I was playing by watching. I was smiling the whole time. It happens. I wish it didn't. But that's golf. Wait, there's a rule. No, there's no rules. No, you can ask me anything. I have no secrets. In fact, we were thinking of like what to name the Friday night show, because I'm like pretty much committed. I want to hang out with y'all every Friday night for a while. I think it's a lot of fun. I love seeing everybody in here, especially the people that I'm seeing every week now. And somebody like proposed the name Stokely and Chill. Like, what are you doing Friday night? Stokely and Chill. That's kind of fun, right? I mean, depends. If you want to think about Stokely and chilling with a 53-year-old, then it's probably awesome. If you don't, it's probably not. So for you 20-year-olds out there, you probably hate it. But I know Ron Jones gives me an ew. Hello, Benita. Yeah, sometimes I hear rounds all the time. Hey, it's golf. You know, nothing's gonna stop me from having fun and being happy ever. Certainly not throwing frisbee as well. But I do care. It's not like I don't care. How do I rate the North Boundary course? I loved the North Boundary course. As far as how much I like it, I'm not sure that there's any course that I enjoyed more this whole season. I thought it was so much fun. As far as course design, it's not perfect because there are holes where, by the way, I'll describe the course to everybody. So it's a par 70. And and par 70, like 70 is a really good score. I mean, if you shoot 70, I think, wasn't it par 1,000 rated? Or 2 over was it? No, I think 2 over was 1,000 rated. Like, so a 70, like a 72 was 1,000 rated. It was so hard. And it was so much fun, but there were so many trees. The course was like probably, I don't know, 10,000 feet through the thickest trees you've ever seen. I mean, it was, and by the way, 18 holes on the side of hills. Like there was not a single hole on that course that if you hit and you missed your putt, it couldn't tip up and roll 80 feet. And there were places where it can, honest to God, back me up here, Christopher. If you got a roll away on hole 3, you could roll 1,000 feet. Like, it is not out of the question. Oh, and out of bounds on the previous hole. So it's hard. The only thing that about the course that could have been better is there were some holes where if you hit the first gap, like if you hit the first gap, you're in really good shape because you'll hit a tree late and you're going to be fine for an easy par. But it didn't have a defined landing area. You just hit that first gap, and then whatever happens, happens. And it's the only thing missing. The best example of the course that does this right, that I hope North Boundary just kind of pays attention to, is Northwood Black in Emporia. Because Northwood Black, did I say Emporia? Peoria, Illinois. Because Northwood Black has these, every shot is really hard. It's another par 71 course. It's just as hard, but every shot has where you're supposed to land. And if you throw a good shot, you land in your area. You might have to throw 400 feet through the woods to get to an area, because then you make a 90-degree turn another 400 feet through the woods. If you mess up, you're getting a bogey or a double bogey for sure. But if you execute your shot, you're in the landing area. So I love the course, and it's I think it's a great course, and it's so close to being the best course in the world, or one of the top 3 courses in the world. 30 trees. Let's see those knuckles tats for another fellow knuckle tat guy. You mean that? Everybody's got disc golf tattooed on their knuckles, right? By the way, here, I'll tell you the story, because Instagram has a, what's it called?
There's a hashtag trending right
There's a hashtag trend where they boost your post if you give the story, whatever. You're supposed to show a tattoo and then tell the story. And I think most tattoo stories are kind of boring. I don't know. Do you think? Usually they're kind of silly. They're basically up there with so how did you guys meet? And it's your girlfriend asks the other couple, how'd you guys meet? And you're like, no, no, please don't tell me. This is going to be really boring. But when I went to get this is my first tattoo ever, was the knuckle tattoos. And when I went into the tattoo place, the guy says, what font do you want? And I said, prison. And he's like, oh, well, we got this homie in the back that just served 5 years out in Vacaville. And he's doing gang tattoos. And I'm like, that's my guy. So I don't know. That's the extent of the story. Did I throw any rollers today? I don't think I did I? No, but I should have. I played so badly. If I should have thrown some left-handed and a few more upside down. I threw one upside down. I didn't do anything right today. Would you prefer a Hauk course for a championship course? I mean, Hauk is the best in the world. I mean, when I say he's the best in the world, there's other people as good, but there's nobody better than John Hauk. I like courses that are hard. I also like par 70s. A par 70 or a par 72 course where a par is 1,000 rated. So here, let me just go back to the example about Northwoods Black. Okay, imagine a 20-foot gap off the tee pad opening up to, let's say, 40 feet wide, 360 feet away. And then it turns left 90 degrees and does the exact same thing. Well, you're throwing through a tight gap, 360 feet, a missable gap up front. But if you make it, you still got to have a good flight to get that 40-foot wide gap. But here's the thing. When you get in that landing zone, because the tunnel is going to turn to the right, if you're short of the landing zone, it's 360 feet. But if you only threw it 330 feet, you got to throw 10 feet out to the landing zone, because you haven't made the corner yet. There's no way getting to the hole. And if you throw too far, you're in the woods on the other side. You have to pitch back out to the landing zone to get out. So you can't be off. And the thing that makes that fun is that if you mess up your first shot, you have to pitch out, you have to pitch forward, get to the opening, then you have to execute your shot to the opening for your bogey, and you get a dopamine hit because you're actually oh, thank God that was a bogey. You're not mad, you know. And if you throw 2 good shots and you execute, and the second shot's like 40 feet away and you missed a putt, like you're not mad because the other 10-20 player on your card took a double bogey. So the idea, what I like is when every single hole on the course, when you get a par, you actually kind of feel good about it. And then if you get a birdie, you're just like, whoa, that was mind blowing. I mean, you'll get birdies, but it's like you're actually happy with a par. The 99% of holes out there, when you par, like on your average par 54 course, like even on the harder holes, if you get a par, you're like, nah, I wish I would have birdied. You don't feel good about it. It's a par. Like I like pars to feel good. And by the way, at Northwoods, at North Boundary, that's the way it is. All right, so I'm going to be, occasionally plugging stuff. My Stokely Universe. These are Discraft buzzes, and these buzzes are all at scottstokely.net. And this is all by this artist named Creative Rob, who's the best artist we've ever seen. These are full color discs. They look beautiful. They're on Discraft buzzes. By the way, go to scottstokely.net. You can also buy it on zoom out, a full color shirt as well. So check out the Scott Stokely. I don't have to sell a lot of stuff to be doing this on Friday nights, but I got to sell at least a couple things to pay for at least for my dinner that we ate earlier. And for this fancy coffee. Am I excited for the MVP Open? I am excited for the MVP Open. I'm playing in the qualifier on Tuesday because you had to qualify by tour points. And the way the points work, and this isn't a bad thing, this is not a complaint, but the way the points is they stack heavier towards the top. The tour doesn't reward consistency as much as it rewards big finishes. And so when I have tournaments where I'm finishing 40th place, 30th, 5th place, I mean, we're talking about there's the 150 best players in the world, and I'm finishing 40th, playing 10, 20 golf, super proud. Like I played really solid golf. Like it's like the list of people I beat is a who's who of people that have won pro tour events. But that 40th place, like consistently 35th, 40th, etc., will give me like a point or two. Where somebody that finishes like 80th place, and then gets a top 10, gets like a ton of points. That one top 10 finish is worth way more than finishing top 40 like 10 times. And so I've been real consistent this year. Minus a couple of the events where I had the E. coli, I was sick. I've been really consistent, but that has not yielded me the most points according to the structure. Again, I'm totally fine with this. I mean, I think you need to I get it. You're rewarding people that step up big sometimes, and that's cool. So I got to qualify on Tuesday for MVP, but I'm pretty sure I can qualify. Can you describe my first ace? My course, the hole, weather, time of day? Oh boy, okay. I can't tell you the time of day. I know it was nice out because I was in Los Angeles and like it was always nice out. It was hole 10 at Oak Grove Park. I did it with a 171 light blue arrow in 1984. And I did it on hole 10, and I made, I think Bruce Sisson was there. Joe Racino was there. I think Jeff and Johnny Listman were all there. And I remember jumping up and down on the rock because I got a hole in one. Have I played Toboggan? Yes, I played Toboggan. Toboggan is very close to my, like, I mean, there's 3 or 4 courses that are on a very short list of my favorite courses this year. Toboggan's one of those. And every single tour course this year is good. Like, there's not a bad course on tour, like, period. Like, you might not like the ball golf courses or you might not like wooden golf, but none of the courses are bad. They're all great courses. And but if I made a list of 5 this year, Toboggan's on it as a slam dunk. It's right up there with Idlewild's up there. Eagles Crossing. It's not a tour course, but the skins matches at Eagles Crossing. Northwoods Black. And I really liked, God, I liked Lindsay Park at Texas State's, and I really liked the course in Des Moines. I should probably know the names of the courses. It's such a blur. But the course in Des Moines was fantastic. I wish they were a little bit harder, but those were great. But Toboggan's fantastic. By the way, Toboggan, there's not a hole in that course where you're pissed off about a par. There's some you want to get. You're not thrilled with pars, but you're not like there's no holes that if you miss, you're upset. That's for sure. How many brands of discs do I throw? Oh my God, probably like 8 or 9. What am I throwing?
Explain.
Yeah. So, okay. So here's my explanation for this. I built my bag with the idea of starting with what is, well, first off, I built the bag. Let me back up. Let me give a lesson on building your bag, because you don't build your bag with discs. When you're building your bag, you build it with shots. What shots do you need? I need a disc that does this. I need a disc that does that. But neither of those discs do this other thing that I need. So that's where it starts. And it's a pretty simple formula, which is, okay, I'm going to say this is if you throw far enough to throw long range drivers. If you don't, you can take the 3 long range drivers I'm going to mention out of the picture. But if you throw farther, you'll include them. So this is the only one that's maybe so, maybe not. But for me, I need a long range driver that goes straight, one that goes a little to the right, one that goes hard to the left. Stable, understable, stable, basically straight, right, left, long range driver. I need a driver that goes straight, a little to the right, a little to the left. I need a mid-range that goes straight, little to the right, little to the left. I need a putt and approach that goes straight, little to the right, little to the left. Then I need a disc that flips slowly for my thumbers. I need a disc that flips fast for my understable rollers or my really flippy hyzer flips. And then I need putters. And so that's basically what everybody needs in their bag. When you have a complete bag, that's really what you need. If you don't have those discs, you're missing discs for shots. And so I started with that. And then I just started looking at what is the best disc for each of those categories, because every company, every bigger company makes a disc that fits each of those categories. But smaller companies also make great discs too, but they don't necessarily have a complete lineup of discs for every single shot. But it doesn't mean you can't find good discs in those categories. And that's what I did. I found what disc would work best for each of those categories, independent of manufacturer. Once I found the disc, then I went to the manufacturer and said, I want to, I want to be paid, basically. Or it doesn't mean that whether it's a tour series, whether it's a cash, whether it's a sponsorship, whether it's a discount in discs, but one way or another, I'm going to be compensated for throwing their disc, because I will then be marketing their disc as well, which is where I've been releasing about one disc a month. The Wizard, the Marvel, the Harp, the Lutz, the Stall. There's one more. Keep looking over you. Like, I'm looking over my caddy.
You say Harp?
Yeah. I got the. That's right. The other one I didn't mention is not released yet. That's why. But that's basically what I'm doing. So I'm building the bag based on those. And every manufacturer I've gone to, except for one, has been all for it. Because the problem is, from their perspective, is that it's a mixed bag. And on the surface, you wouldn't want to sponsor somebody with a mixed bag, because why would one company want to give you $1 to throw their discs if every company out there is each giving you $1 to throw their discs and you're representing all of them equally? Then nobody gets any benefit, but every manufacturer is out $1. So it makes sense why you wouldn't want to have a mixed bag or sponsor a player with a mixed bag. But I've positioned myself where I have these great relationships with these great people, and everybody's supporting what I'm doing, and they like what I'm doing. I think hopefully because they like me too, but I'm also putting eyes on their disc. Because the one thing is even though it's a mixed bag, if you're not working with me on that disc, I'll throw someone else's disc, and I will promote that in the space of yours too. So they do get a benefit, not as much as an exclusive. Now, final thing, here's how this benefits me the most, though, is that the kind of the holy grail of a sponsored player is to have a tour series disc. Like, if you are, good enough, or you've had enough success, that the company will make a disc with your hot stamp and will pay you royalties on it. That's where most of the sponsorship pay comes from. Ultimately, it comes from the consumer from buying those discs, right? But they buy the Paige Pierce discs, the Jeremy Colling Thunderbird, the Paul Ulibarri Raptor, the Paul McBeth discs. A few people, like Paul and Ricky, have multiple discs. They have 4 or 5 discs that they're getting, they're making tour series royalties off of. Well, I thought, like, the goal is to have 1 disc. I thought, why not have 16? Like, there's no rule that says I can't have 16 tour series discs. Like, I have 16 discs in my bag. Why can't I get royalties off of all of them? And to me, that's obvious. Like, why wouldn't I want to do that? It's just that everyone else is like trying to get 1. And so I came up with this idea of, like, I want to be paid for every disc I throw. Why wouldn't I? And so I'm releasing those 1 disc a month. I have like 6 or 7 out, but I have more discs coming out like every month. And now I'm getting royalties off of all of them. But I'm not throwing them because they're paying me. I chose the disc first. In every single case, I chose the disc first and then approached the company. Sorry, how about that for a 10-minute answer to a quick question?
Forward question. Talk about the sauce.
The sauce? Oh, yeah. God, the bottles are looking really beat up because they're not so bad in the warehouse. Have you all seen my barbecue sauce? That is Texas smoky. What? And this is Carolina vinegar. Look, it's even got a picture of me on there. How can you beat that? Look at that. That's way more handsome than Paul Newman. And then Kansas City sweet and California spicy. And you can't really see it too well because these bottles they've been traveling around the country, but each of them have a letter. They spell out the word disc. If you wash them out, put them on your shelf, it says disc. So if you do collect stuff like this, you can get those at ScottStokely.net, and they're really good. I eat barbecue all across the country. I eat local barbecue everywhere. Love me my barbecue. Think Kristen will get to 1,000 for her rating? I wouldn't put a ceiling on her. She's the best in the world. And the thing about the sport in general, as the sport evolves and players get better, the best players of today are going to be, playing at a level that's, like, in general, are going to be better than the players that came before because our sports evolved. I mean, anything that's a newer sport, that's going to be the case. I mean, if you follow mixed martial arts, like, you'll know this. I mean, Royce Gracie is on the Mount Rushmore of mixed martial arts. But would Royce Gracie step into the octagon today and compete against an average fighter in their weight class? No, he gets clobbered. Not because Royce wasn't deservedly the first name on the Mount Rushmore of mixed martial arts. It's because the sport evolved. And so we're seeing the same thing. I think that the women's game is evolving at a faster rate than the men's game. I think the men are closer to the ceiling than the women. So I think the women have more room to grow. And because of that, the top players of today are better than the top players or will be better than the players that came before them. At some point, it levels off. I'm not sure the top baseball players today are better than the top baseball players 30 years ago. At some, we plateau, but not in the new sport. And so I think Kristen right now may be playing better golf than any woman who's ever played the game. I think it's, will she get the accolades because of the level of competition and how many people that can win on a given weekend? Will she have as many titles? It's hard to say, but I'm not sure any woman's ever played the game better than she's playing today. And by the way, I'm honoring Paige Pierce and Katrina Allen and Sarah Hokum and Valerie Jenkins and Des Redding and Juliana Corver and Elaine King when I say this. I'm honoring them by saying they are part of this evolution of the women's game. Every one of them stepped up at a time where they were and should be considered one of the best to ever do it. But Kristen's playing, I think, the best any woman's ever played. It's possible. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't put a ceiling on her. I don't think if you want to bet against somebody, she's probably not the person you want to bet against. When's the last time you played a trilogy type tournament? What's your favorite disc you have played with those types of tournaments? I've never played a trilogy tournament. And by never played a trilogy tournament, I meant, hey, sponsored by Westside Discs Harps. Come out to your local trilogy tournament and have a blast throwing trilogy discs. No, I haven't. I don't play a lot of the smaller events. I focus on the tournaments, and when I'm competing, I'm focusing on the tournaments I'm trying to compete in. And like on the Pro Tour this year, I don't play courses that aren't on tour, and I don't play rounds of golf that aren't preparing for the tournament. It's just like if I was to play. Like if I played a Wednesday afternoon trilogy event, that's a round of golf that that's 3 hours of my life that I wasn't on the course. If I have 3 hours to spare, which I kind of don't these days, if you haven't noticed, I got about 50 projects I'm working on. If I have 3 hours to spare, it's going to be on the tournament course 100% of the time without exception. So I don't really play a lot of those fun events, but I'm not complaining. It's just focusing. Hey, Scott, started playing 2 weeks ago. Been watching for years, though. What do you think I'm throwing for average? Let's see. You've been watching for years and playing. Like, what do you think your score is on average? If you've been playing for only 2 weeks, God, it's hard to say. I would need to know, like, your age, and I would need to know what other sports you played, and I would need to know, there's no way to guess. It also depends on the course you're playing. Like you could be playing bogey golf after 2 weeks on a certain type of course. Like if you're athletic, before you even know what you're doing, you could be up there shooting bogey golf. But if you went out to Pittsburgh, you're shooting 60 over after a year. So it's impossible to say. But I'm glad you're playing. Am I open to in-person lessons when I'm tour? So I'm not. I don't do any of the in-person lessons because it doesn't scale to what I'm doing with my teaching. Because when I do teaching, I will usually get 60, 70, 80 people to come out for $30 a person for 2 hours. And so if I have 2 hours set aside to teach, that's what I can make in 2 hours with my teaching. That's what I'm expecting to make. And so that really doesn't translate to doing a private lesson. One person would have to pay like $1,200 an hour in order to do, for that to scale. It's exciting. And the reason I'm so excited about being able to make just like this unbelievable amount of money playing disc golf is that I played for 40 something years where I didn't. And so if you average in how much I made playing disc golf over my career, every hour I've put in, well, basically, if you take all the money I'm making in disc golf right now and divide it by every hour I've put into disc golf in my life, I'm basically a minimum wage employee. It's just that all my earnings are basically stacked at the end here. So that's, I'm in a just this incredible position in my life in the sport because of that. But that's why I don't do private lessons. And by the way, I'm eternally grateful that this has happened.
Well, and you're also building your brand and trying to get as many people in front of your name as possible. So it's much more better use of the time to talk to 40 or 100 people at a clinic.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I'm building my teaching brand and the teaching method. Like my online classes, are fantastic, but I can reach hundreds and hundreds of people in my online classes. I can reach 70 to 100 people at my clinics. I can just reach so many more people. Well, the thing is, here's something I don't ever want to like try to pretend that I'm like being altruistic or being fake, because I make really good money, and I'm not ashamed of that, because I paid my dues. And so some people will say, oh, it's not about the money, it's not about the thing. And it's very disingenuous when people say that. I'm like, well, no, it kind of is about the money. And I'm okay with someone saying that the money's a big part of their decisions. So I just try to be honest about that. But you are right. I also want to reach more people. If you go to scottstokely.net, you can sign up for my 6-month online class, which I'm super proud of. It's like $40 a month, with multiple online classes every month, live stream classes several times a month. There's also group sessions. I've got 5 paid trainers that do nothing but watch your form review videos. By the way, I watch your videos too for form reviews. So that's like you'll get a ton out of the class. I mean, wait to see the reviews I post. I mean, people are mind blown by how well this thing I've created works, because it really works. By the way, it's a great question. I just like, and I always feel awkward talking about money. I really do. It's awkward, but I just never want to be dishonest. Okay, those are my Stokely Universe discs by Creative Rob. This is part of a series of discs that are going to be coming out. We got hopefully going to be a new disc the plan is a new disc every single month that take place in the universe. That's his interpretation of what goes on inside my brain. By the way, it's pretty close. All of a sudden, you're pulling through too soon on your backhand. It's making me look like I've never thrown a disc in my life on some pulls. You're pulling through too. Any quick tips? I mean, a 3-step run-up is a 4 count. It's called a 3-step run-up because you physically take 3 steps. I'm talking about the last 3 steps of your throw, if you did a 3-step run-up. But it's a 4 count. It's step, X step, plant, then pull. You plant your foot, then you pull the disc. You have to imprint that plant coming first. The best way you can do that if you're pulling through too soon is to plant your foot, pause, and then throw. Now, I don't mean you pause forever. I mean in the process of learning how to plant your foot, or in process of learning timing, plant, pause, then throw. Plant, pause, then throw. You have to imprint them as 2 separate motions. You do not plant and throw at the same time. It is not like a baseball swing where your foot's coming down as your arms start going forward. That's not how you throw a golf disc. You plant your foot first. So again, pause in between is probably the best drill for that. Do I throw any destroyers or wraiths? I love destroyers. I don't throw wraiths, but I love destroyers. Destroyers is still, they are not going to be permanently part of my bag, because I am I don't want to like give anything away. I'm going to be announcing things, but destroyers are kind of like the gold standard of long range drivers. You know, I think that to some extent, I think a good destroyer got it right, and then I think that discs have been trying to basically become destroyers ever since. Now there's overstable, understable, etc. But destroyers, like, I would say, so this is the funny thing about Innova, is that, and I have no working relationship with them whatsoever, but the gold standard of putters is the AVR, the gold standard of approach discs is the Rock, and the gold standards of long range drivers is the Destroyer. I think that is hard to argue with. Which buzzes are in your bag? I don't have any buzzes in my bag. That is not the mid-range disc that I throw. I think buzzes are great. Buzzes are unbelievably good discs. I mean, you know, Paul throws buzzes, right? I mean, I don't know if Aaron Gossage throws buzzes But if he like, I would be shocked if he didn't. I mean, but they fly perfectly straight. But I throw truths, piwakas, and harps.
The buzzes that are the Universe Discs.
The Universe Discs.
ESP.
Oh, those are ESPs. Yeah. Oh, thank you. ESPs. Oh, by the way, if you haven't got my book, by the way, I want to plug stuff at a little slower rate.
Okay.
All right. So, this is my book. It's Growing Up Disc Golf. It's my autobiography. It's also simultaneously the history of the first 25 years of disc golf tied together, but through my eyes. Disc golf used to be really, really weird back then. In the early days of the sport, when they were inventing the rules as they went along. They were inventing rules as people were breaking rules, but they didn't exist yet. And then realizing, oh, we should probably have a rule for that. Like, I'll be honest, like there was a time back in the old days, for example, that, you know, like if someone walked up behind you while you were putting and cracked open a beer, by the way, at a PDJ tournament, it was frowned upon, but there was no penalty stroke for it. It was kind of like, I don't like playing with that person. They always crack a beer when I'm trying to putt. At a PDJ tournament, I mean, that type of thing happened in the early days. Like, it's the Wild West. And so I didn't write about that in the book. But anyways, the book's available at my website, scottstokely.net. Off-season practice. What do I do? What do I recommend? Okay, so for me, it'll be a little bit different right now because my off-season practice is going to involve not throwing much. I got to let my body recover just because I'm 53 years old. But what I recommend most of the off-season practice, I would say two things to do in the off-season. Number one, as far as the throws, well, first off, I think mechanics trumps everything. Like, you got to have good mechanics. That's everything. You got to, number one, work on the weakest part of your game because that has the most room to grow. If you're already good at something, you can improve a little bit. But if you work on something that you're bad at, you can improve a lot. And improving a lot in the off season is way better than improving a little bit. And the second thing that I think is going to happen more and more is getting in shape. Like getting your body into shape for the off season. We're athletes. People like think, oh, well, it's, you're throwing frisbees or you're playing disc golf. There are people that would argue, they would kind of like imply that that's not athletic, but they said the same thing about ball golf, right? Ball golf's, that's not like, I mean, if you think that disc golf is not athletic, you would have to say ball golf's not athletic, right? Well, what is every single player in the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, like what do every single one of them do in the off season? They golf. I mean, if it's not athletic, why do all the best athletes do it in their spare time, right? I mean, of course it's athletic. And having a body that's in shape will make you better. Never mind the whole quality of life. That's a whole other topic. But I think that's the other thing, making sure that you're taking care of yourself in the off season. You throw a lot of AGL discs. First off, I love AGL. One of the discs that I'm going to be releasing in my bag is an AGL disc. I just got 1,000 of them just arrived. They're sitting in the warehouse ready to be announced. So I have 1,000 of a Tour Series AGL disc ready to ship. But I'm not announcing it yet. Back in the 80s, what did you picture the future of disc golf? Did you think you'd still be doing this professionally over the age of 50? Okay, I'll tell you a funny story about that. Everyone says, can you believe how big disc golf has gotten? Could any of you have believed that disc golf has gotten this big and this popular? And my answer is yes, 100% I can believe it. Every single one of us. And by the way, I'm looking at Riley Manderscheid, one of my best friends growing up, who was an avid and a very good disc golfer in Los Angeles. We all knew it was going to be like this. And the reason I know it's going to be like this is we talked about it every single day, how disc golf was the sport of the future, how it was going to blow up, how it was going to be the biggest sport out there. you know, the only thing we got wrong is that we thought it was going to happen next year. And we thought that every single year. It didn't happen as quickly as we thought. But anybody from the old days that says that we're surprised that it's gotten this big, like they got bad memories, which by the way, you know, at my age, that's understandable. But of course we did. Now that I think I still do doing this professionally, oh, I mean, yes, but I also feel like I just got back into like putting time into to actually competing, and I started off the season rated 991, and now I'm up to 1,007 because I've been shooting 1,018 every weekend, not counting today. And I, like in my mind, I'm going to be better at 60 than I am at 53. So yes, I thought I could be competitive in my 50s, but I think that might be delusion on my part. But yes, I think so. I have a hard time seeing ceilings. Like I don't see anything that's impossible for me. Like I just don't. They're like everything seems possible. Like I hate ceilings. Can I ship the sauce products internationally? We can, right?
Not the sauce.
Not the sauce. Okay, so not the sauce. It would be, by the way, if you bought it internationally, you'd probably be paying like $200 for the sauce. And I'm not saying it's not. I mean, the sauce is worth like 180 for a bottle of sauce, but probably not 200.
The export for food is efficient.
The what is it?
The export rules for food.
There's different rules. Mm-hmm. Best barbecue meat: chicken, pork, or I'm a brisket person. I always go brisket and hot links is where I go everywhere. But I'll eat anything with barbecue. I just like local. We only eat at local restaurants. Like we avoid chains like the plague. Like we've been together for almost 3 years, and we went to a Chili's once and we felt dirty because oh God, I don't want to like sound all high and hoity-toity, or that's not the right word. Morally superior. So please, this is just like we all pick our battles in life with the things that are important to us. But I never understood why people like in small towns, like they complain about the economy of their towns, and then they go to Applebee's and they go to businesses where they're sending their money to like some corporate headquarters somewhere. Like I like supporting small business. I always want my money to go to somebody where my sale actually affects their bottom line and not some corporation. So I like going to barbecue places. I like going to small barbecue places. I like going to barbecue places where the person cooking the food is also the one that brings you the food, because it's their little place and it's their family recipe, and they scrape together the money to open up this tiny little hole in the wall place. Like that's my jam for sure. The food's usually better there, but even if it's not, I'd rather give it to that person trying to make it. And again, sorry, I'm not trying to play like the moral cards, whatever you want to call it. But that's just, it's important to us. What is the definition of golf? I mean, ball golf, foot golf, disc golf, that's all golf. I mean, it's all the same game. You start at a location, you have to advance an object through whatever rules they have towards the end goal, and you count the number of times you have to execute the action to get the object to the goal, and then you complete a certain number of goals. The fewest number of times you had to take action to get it there, the better. This is why, by the way, here, ready for this one? This is why, let's see, how do I say this without pissing people off? Wait, you all are my friends. I don't have to worry about pissing people off. This is why disc golf is better than ball golf. Because I would argue that the sport of golf is the greatest sport in the world. And the reason why I call it the greatest sport in the world, is I mentioned this earlier, is that professional soccer players play golf when they retire. Professional cricket players play golf when they retire. If you're in New Zealand, professional rugby players play golf when they retire. I'm thinking about other sports that like people would argue is the greatest sport in the world, like soccer or cricket. If you're in New Zealand, it's probably rugby, right? A lot of them play golf when they retire. Nobody on the PGA Tour retires and takes up rugby or cricket, right? It all filters one direction. They all wind up golfing. So that makes me say that golf's the greatest sport in the entire world. Well, every single thing that makes golf, the sport of golf, the greatest sport in the world, whether it's the outdoors, the exercise, the personal challenges, the competition, the leagues, the like, there's entire books written about why golf's the greatest game. Every single one of those applies to our sport as well. Except we have 3 additional things that make disc golf better. Number one, it's affordable, right? The barrier to entry is lower. You can play disc golf in with your family, and you can take the kids out. Someone who's poor can become a professional disc golfer just by getting out to the course and practicing, but the barrier to entry is just lower. Number two, the time it takes to play is shorter. I mean, a round of ball golf is a commitment. There's a reason why people play ball golf. They set aside one Sunday a month to play because it's such a time commitment. They don't stop on the way home and shoot a round of ball golf. We do it in disc golf. We go shoot 9 holes. And I think something that's very underrated is that ball golf, typically courses are very similar. And I know if you're a golfer, you're going to say, oh, no, they're not. This course is nothing like that course and nothing like this course. They're all rolling green grass with sand traps and bunk and rough and greens. Like, of course, holes and courses vary. But the difference between 2 different ball golf courses is nothing like the difference between a disc golf course on the side of a mountain in the woods and one that's on an open field somewhere, or that's in a junkyard, or that's in a field with a bunch of rocks, or with rolling hills and trees and openings. And like, we play in ball golf courses, but we also play on that piece of land the ball golf course didn't want. So the variety of courses we play is just much better. Even within one town, you can have the variety. So we have everything that the greatest sport in the world has, and then we have these 3 other things that are better. There's nothing about our sport that is worse than ball golf, but we beat them in those 3 key areas, which is why there's more disc golfers in the U.S. than ball golfers, and we're doing this. Like, as far as participation, disc golf won. We're not looking back. It's really exciting. That's a really long answer to like the question, what's the definition of golf? Did I even answer the question?
Yeah.
How do you get a couple discs signed by me? Any chance you could do a small time frame signing, increase the price a bit? Yeah, so there are some signed discs on scottstokely.net. Well, you got to go there. It'll take you to the store that are signed. I have done signings, and I signed a ton of discs there, and there are discs available that are signed. But I don't do any shipping while I'm traveling. It's impossible. Like, I don't even carry enough merchandise to ship. And by the way, I would not increase the price because they're signed. That's one of those lines that I've drawn in the sand. I won't charge for signing stuff. Like, that's period, never going to happen. My signature is not worth money. Why the huge drop off for Paige? I don't think there's a drop off for Paige. Paige is great. Paige is still great. Paige is a contender to win any tournament that she plays. What you're seeing is a field of a larger field of athletes getting stronger. It's like the same question about the drop off of Paul and Ricky. It's like, there's no drop off to Paul and Ricky. They're as great as they ever was. It's just that there's now this huge group of people so close that there's always a couple of them who play a few strokes better than normal, because there's so many of them. Some of them are going to have good days, tournaments. Some will have bad tournaments. Well, every single tournament, a handful of those players that are just about as good are having good tournaments, which requires Paige to shoot like really, really good. Where when Paige was just flat out the best player in the world, she just had to be Paige to win. Now she is, she's still one of the top couple people in the entire world, hands down. But look, same thing as I say about Kristen. Like, go bet against Paige, and Paige will make you eat your bet. Like, Paige is still top of her game. It's just that there's a lot of talent. Could I beat Paul Macbeth in a fist fight? I am not answering that question. Maybe in a thumb war.
Would you do him left-handed?
What? I will do you left-handed. I don't know. I trained for fighting for years. I like fighting. I love sparring and rolling, and so I feel pretty comfortable if I was to get with every good if I like ball. Let's see. What do you use more in practicing, marksman basket or normal basket? I have a bullseye basket from Gateway in our truck, but that's not on purpose. It's just the one that was small and fit the best. To me, it doesn't make a difference. This is just for me. I don't care if I don't care if I'm putting at a blanket hanging from a tree that had a little dot painted on it. If I was aiming at the dot, I'm aiming at something. So I don't really. I don't care. Like I'm still aiming for a spot and hoping I'm accurate. Thoughts about being a commentator? Yeah, I don't think I want to be a commentator. Number one, I think it's way harder than people think. I think the commentators now do a really good job, and I think where our commentators are having a hard time, as far as people judging them, is what you're judging them. You're comparing them to, let's say, the NFL, right? Like an NFL commentator, where you have thousands and thousands of ex-NFL players to choose from who are knowledgeable enough to do color commentary. And then you have thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of people who have studied, broadcasting or communications in school, and like you're picking from like the best of the best of the best. Like, of course you're going to wind up with these people that are like that good. We're in disc golf, we're barely at a point where there's anybody out there not playing who's qualified to talk about the best players in the world. Like we have a pool that's really, really small to pick from. And so I think the commentators we have do a very nice job because they're the best of what we got. I think it'll evolve. I think they're getting better and we'll get better. But I think it's way harder than people think. And I don't know that I would do the best job. I think I think we all think we would, but I'm not sure. The other thing is then that would involve me, not disc golfing over the tournaments. I want to be in the tournaments. if you put a mic on me, I'll commentate my own round live. If the DTPT let me take a camera crew with me and film every one of my rounds, and I put a microphone on it, if they gave me permission to do that, I would fund that myself, sell commercial space all day, and I would smash it. I can commentate my round easily. I can tell you exactly why I was an idiot for trying to birdie that hole when the out of bounds area was 15 feet away, like 8 different times today. I would be very critical of myself, but I think it's hard. And I don't want to spend my Sundays like watching disc golf. I want to be playing. But remember, I'm still getting better. I'm going to be better when I'm 60. So I got at least another 10 years left of improvement. Craziest thing I've ever witnessed playing disc golf. I've seen a lot of crazy things playing disc golf. I saw okay. I just, there's a million of these. So I'll just pick a random one. So I moved into downtown Denver, and you haven't even heard this story yet. And it was my new home course was this course called Paco Sanchez, and it was in the hood, right? It was in a rough part of Denver, which is crazy because I grew up in LA. Like the worst part of Denver, like you can walk down the street at 2:00 in the morning, like no one's gonna like mug you. Like there's no real bad parts of Denver, like literally. But as far as Denver, it's pretty rough. Paco Sanchez Park. And so I'm like, well, I guess this is my course. I guess I'm going to be playing Paco Sanchez now, because it was close to where I lived. And the very first day on the course, my very first round, I saw 4 gangbangers driving a car down the middle of the course, like with the music going, whatever, and they were like flashing gang signs and all this stuff, like right down to one of the fairways. I saw the police pull onto the course and arrest somebody on the course, not in the parking lot. They drove onto the course and arrested him on the course. And I saw 2 people, let's say, sometimes when mommies and daddies love each other, they have a special hug that they do. Did I pull that one off? Okay. I saw all 3 of those things on the course my first round. Like, there's nothing better than a hood course. Like, you don't see that, like, 0 of those things do you see in the suburbs on those really nice courses where it's, they're clean and safe to play. Paco Sanchez, that course, I was like I instantly have street cred just because I play there. And what's really funny too is, like, once I started playing there, my first thought was like, I want to drive across town with a spray paint and like tag other courses, Paco Sanchez, like learn how to do graffiti and like tag other. Anyways, I didn't do it, but I thought about it because, like, I'm in the hood now, right? So, anyways. See, I told you on my preview that I would talk about relationship advice, and we're already talking about mommy daddy hugs. It's after 9 o'clock, right? Does the format for Worlds need to change? Ricky says it should be like a basketball series, like an elimination tournament. I think that would be fun. I love the idea of elimination tournaments where you have 64 people come out or 32 people come out and you play head to head. I think that's really fun. I think what's fun about it is when you watch the World Championships, you're very quickly watching a handful of people competing for it, and very quickly you're watching 2 people. I mean, Paul and Aaron put on a show for the ages, right? That was amazing. Well, imagine in a 32-person tournament, you have 31 of those. Because even though it's a first-round tournament, the loser goes home. And the winner is still in contention to win the World Championships or whatever tournament it is. I love that format because, like, anything can happen. I mean, Paul McBeth is a much better disc golfer than me. But in a one-round tournament, in a one-round head-to-head matchup, I could beat him. He's the favorite, but I could beat him. In a 4-round tournament, I beat him once this whole year. And I played well, and he had his worst tournament of the year. Right? So, like, and by the way, just beating him didn't mean there weren't 35 other people that beat me. So it opens up the possibility for some long shots to come in. I think there's more people that could win at that format. I think it's exciting. There's also, so another thing about sports, what's fun when people watch sports is there's a story being told. And if you're not telling a story, it's not as interesting. And when you're watching 2 people play head-to-head in a tennis match or, 2 teams in a basketball tournament, you're watching a story. You got the background on this team or person, background on this team or person, what they're playing for, what's gone on all season to this point, strengths, weaknesses, and then how those 2 fighters match up. It's a story. I love the idea. I don't know if the World Championship should be that way because I do like the fact that it's golf. You play 4 rounds or 5 rounds. But I think it would be cool to have more tournaments like that. That'd be cool. Now, here's the one of the challenges though about those formats is you couldn't pay like a third of the field because it would be hard to get a lot of players, especially the quote underdogs, to like travel across the country to a tournament where they play 1 round of golf, and if they lose, they don't make any money. So you would have to be somehow players would have to be compensated. Like they could do that in tennis because you might not cash in a bunch of tournaments, but at the end of the season, I'm guessing the 50th best players still made a few $100,000, I suspect, and probably a few $100,000 in sponsorship as well. So it's easy to justify going to tournaments, win or lose, where we're not quite there yet. That's about the only drawback. But I love it. I'm interested in thoughts of Paul mentioning Climo being more involved around Worlds. Yeah, I mean, that's just Paul's entitled to his opinion. You know, I mean, that's just, you know, he wants, you know, Climo to be around. That's, I mean, I don't really have an opinion. I don't know anything about their relationship. So, but Paul wants him around more. I don't really have any thoughts on it. Any recommendations on eliminating toe drag? Yeah, buy new shoes. And then when you wear a hole in those toes, buy more shoes too. You don't necessarily want to eliminate the toe drag. You don't necessarily want to do toe drag intentionally. The thing about technique, mechanics, and I'll try to make this one short, but I'll kind of give you a big picture on this, is that this is what my Stokely disc golf teaching method is all about. It's not about, you know, throwing any way you want to throw. Like the worst advice you've ever been given is just do whatever works for you. Like that's crazy. No, absolutely not. There's a right and a wrong way to throw, right? For sure. But equally bad advice is to try to mimic a certain type of throw. Exactly. You watch a slow motion of Paul or Ricky or Simon throw and you try to mimic what they do exactly. That's also equally flawed because you don't have the same body as them. Our bodies all move differently, different sizes, different shapes, different muscle mass, different flexibility, scar tissue, injuries, mobility. Our joints don't even align at the exact same angle. So you cannot mimic another player's throw. So what you're left with, I'll you know, circle back to your question, but what you're left with is you can't do whatever you want. However, you also can't mimic a throw. What my method teaches is that there are a series of rules you must follow. You have to follow these rules. You must do thing A, you must do thing B, you must do thing C, you must do thing D, etc. There's things you must do. You can't just throw however you want. However, if you do A, B, C, and D, I cannot tell you how your body moves from A to B, from B to C, from C to D. That's based on your individual body, the flexibility, muscle mass, mobility. So you must do certain things, but how your body moves in between them, I cannot tell you how to do. So how does that apply to toe drag? Your body moves the way it needs to move. And it is possible that based on how your body moves, your toe dragging, like the left side of your big toe on the right foot, for example, may drag on your sidearm. If it drags on your sidearm, because that's the way your body is putting your leg and foot in position to throw properly, it may be correct for you to do so. Not toe dragging because, well, I saw so-and-so pro throw and they don't drag their toe. What are you going to do? Like lift your foot up more or do something like that to mimic them? Well, how do you know that your hips are the same hips that they have? How do you know that you're rotating at the same time as them because they're stronger in their shoulders than you are? So you can't automatically eliminate it. So my advice on that is you may want to eliminate the toe drag. You may, but don't be set on it. It may also be the way your body happens to move. And if it is, find a pair of $25 shoes and then buy 6 of them off Amazon and then replace them every month. By the way, that's exactly what I do. I found a pair of, how much are my shoes?
$30.
They're $30. And they're perfect for me. I love them, but they're $30 shoes. They don't last a long time. I wear them out in the exact same spot. And it's okay. I would rather go through the shoes than try to change my technique that might not be how my body wants to move. Should Florida be on tour? If they have an event for it, absolutely. It's going to be really tough because there's going to be only so many events. There's only so many spots. And even now, a lot of the events on tour, it doesn't seem like all of them are necessarily going to, they're not all going to be there. You know, the thing about the tour is you want the best events on tour, right? Well, you have, let's say you have, I'm just picking them. Let's say you have 20 events on tour. How many events? I don't even know how events there are.
16?
There's 16 Elite Series?
Well, if you count, no, the DGPT with the silver and everything.
Elite and Silver Series? It's 16? Okay, let's say you have 20 events on tour. and you have the best 20 events on tour. What happens if another tournament comes around and is better than one of those 20? Like, you don't want to exclude them. You want to put them in. But how do you put them in? Well, someone's got to get bumped. Well, that's unfortunate that someone gets bumped. But if you're not continuing to be one of the best 20 events, you're going to get bumped. Well, what makes it the best event? Well, money's one of it, but that's not the only thing. It could be that you have great prize money, a great club that are supporting the event, an immaculate course, but you don't have parking. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, crowds are growing, and when crowds are growing, you need a place for them to park. You might be in a location, you might have great parking, but you're in a location where you're so far from any other disc golf mecca that you have this great crowd from the local town, but there's no other courses nearby to draw from. Everybody has to drive 4 hours to get to your course. That's a challenge. It's not a barrier, because you could have more money, or you could have better courses, or you could have better facilities. You could have, like, there's so many things you could have that you weigh against that. But what happens when a course comes along that has all those things you do, and they're also in the middle of Chicago? So I think that's the thing about Florida. I think Florida should be on tour if there's a spot that in a tournament that is one of those top events. But I don't think it should automatically be on because we need a Florida stop. I think it should be if there's an event that has earned that spot in. I think at DGPT, I believe that's what they're always going to be doing. They're always going to be trying to do the best events. Like you don't want to have the Disc Golf Pro Tour and then have events not on tour that are better. Like that's the opposite of what you want. Do I play a casual round of Climo in Florida? Honestly, like, I haven't seen Ken in 27 years. Ken and I have never been friends. You know, it's not, we weren't enemies. We're just two different people. We have two completely different personalities, and like, we're just not, like, we're just different people. You know, that's all. I got nothing against Ken. I hope Ken's happy and successful. You know, I don't know anything about where he's at in disc golf right now. I hope he's doing well. I mean, I hope he put himself in a position right now where he's comfortable, like he should be. So I hope he's happy. I know he's got a great family, and you know, I don't have any bad thoughts, but we're not, like, if I'm in Florida, I'm not calling him. If he sees on Facebook that I'm in Florida, he's not calling me, inviting me over. We're different. We are opposite personalities. You know, we get along, but we're just different people. Am I coming to New Zealand? I already have my plane ticket to New Zealand. We have our plane tickets to New Zealand. We're coming there. We're going to Australia next to last week in October. We are flying to Australia for 6 weeks. We're going to Australia for 6 weeks, and then after Australia, we are going to New Zealand for 5 more weeks, 6 more weeks. Yeah, I honestly, to be totally truthful with you, I suspect I'll probably be in New Zealand very often from now on, because I probably for the rest of my life I'll spend winters in the Southern Hemisphere, or, I mean, we go to Southeast Asia, which is by the equator, but I'm over cold weather, and I don't want to be, you know, in Florida or Arizona. Like, there's so many places in the world. So I can see myself, honestly, I can see myself going to New Zealand. The only reason I won't go there every year is because I also want to spend time in Africa and Australia and Southeast Asia. There's other places in the world. I don't want to just go to the same place every year. But I'll probably go to New Zealand a lot.
I don't want to go to the same place anyway.
Oh, I don't want to go to the same place 2 days in a row. I would rather, God's honest truth, I would rather go someplace like and have a terrible time than go to some place that I've been to before and have a great time. Like, I don't like going, that's why I'm leaving the country in October for 18 months. And I have no idea what's going on after that. I just want to go to different places. That's why we don't have a home. That's why we travel full time. Like, I don't want to go to the same place again. I like new stuff. Like, Not just like, I'm obsessed with seeing and doing new things. Let's see. If all the old school molds, or some at least, are so revered, why aren't they just remade? Yeah, I mean, the old discs are good, but if a disc, like if it gets improved upon, why would you make the same old disc you did? I mean, like, things get improved upon. I mean, there are discs that have weathered the test of time. Like I mentioned, the Rock earlier from Innova. Like, they got it right when Dave Dunn and Pace created the Rock. I don't recall. I believe it was their first mid-range disc, but they literally got it right the first time. So that disc will always be in players' bags forever because it's the Rock. But there are other discs that they were good, but then you retool stuff, you make it a little better, they outsell it. I mean, any disc that sells, they're going to keep making. So I mean, the market determines. Like, no company's discontinuing a disc that's selling well. So I would say the market makes that call. Any Discraft disc I like personally, yeah, I throw the Force. I love the Force. I got a Force in my bag right now. I will be replacing it with another disc, but as of right now, the Force is it's a perfect wind disc. It's beefy but not too overstable. It's so consistent in the wind. I love that disc. So yeah, I throw the Force. Is it?
I just saw on comment for your little reel that you did to promo your live stream.
Right.
Because you're talking about a first date. Right?
Oh, I was talking about if you're on your first date, if you need relationship advice,
yeah, so
ask away.
So I guess Ezra's on a date. He said the timing is impeccable.
Oh, that's funny. So Ezra, you commented on my post. Yeah. So okay, this is really interesting. So you might have seen the reel I shot on Instagram where I said, "Hey, if you're looking for a great, if you're on a first date, I got a great date night for you. Come to my live stream at 9:00 tonight." That's really funny. Then what's even funnier is that Ezra just commented on my Instagram page that the timing's impeccable. He's on a first date. And what's even better is that on Ezra's first date, he's on his phone on my channel. I'm going to remind him of that tomorrow. Come on, Ezra. Come on. Get off your phone. Keep your head in the game. By the way, Ezra is one of the I mean, there's a list of people I've got to know this year that I really like. I really like everybody out there, but Ezra's awesome. Ezra and his brother are two of the coolest people out there. I hope he tours for years to come. He's just one of the real good guys. Is the Queen really dead? Ooh, is that a conspiracy theory?
I thought maybe you had some insight.
Yeah. So, by the way, in case anybody's watching, Randy Lam is my best friend in the whole world, and we have been trying for the past 25 years to come up with a conspiracy theory that we can throw out there because like pretty much all conspiracy theories are nonsense. But it's and I kind of hate them because I think most of them dumb down the human race. But if you can't beat them, join them. I thought it'd be fun to come up with one. We were talking about trying to come up with one. So what's the Queen doing? Let's chew on this, Randy. Let's figure out if she's not really dead, what is she doing?
Yeah.
What is she controlling still? Is she controlling?
That's the real question.
Is she controlling the? Follow the money.
Find the Queen.
If she can follow the money and find the Queen, somehow she's controlling the Illuminati on Epstein's private jet. When are you going to be able to get Scott Stokely gyroscope? I actually am not at the moment. I'm not going to be throwing any MVPs. But I'm a huge fan of MVP. I'm a huge fan of Brad and Chad. They're great guys, great company, great discs. So it didn't fit into my bag, but the Photon and the Wave, and the Ion are like 3 discs that I used to throw that I thought were great. So huge.
So maybe the queen's gonna start doing like, she's gonna find some way to get into disc golf. You know, like Dorothy's shoes ended up in disc golf.
So the queen's gonna get into disc golf?
Or like a crown. Like,
what if I produce discs and I claim that the queen's ashes are in the discs? And if I get sued, that's like great publicity. Mm-hmm. Like, could I get on TMZ for that?
Obviously.
Oh, by the way, so here, I'll give it. I you know, I'm not opposed to like, you know, like I love marketing and I love creative marketing. And one of my ideas to market what I was doing was I wanted to run frisbee golf tournaments, and or I wanted to make discs, but I wanted to actually call them frisbees, which you can't do because Mattel owns the name frisbee. And so I thought, that's cool. I can make golf discs, and I'm gonna just call them frisbees. And then when Mattel finds out about it, which, by the way, the reason Mattel like finds out about it is because I'm gonna write Mattel myself and rat myself out and tell them there's some guy making golf discs called frisbees. Because then my idea was that Mattel would send me a cease and desist letter, and then I would take the cease and desist letter and I would turn that into a hot stamp and put it on the disc. And I would have like two discs. One's called the cease and one's called the desist, and one's like understable, one's overstable. And this was all part of my big marketing scheme, where, by the way, I would instantly jump into victim role, and I would, about this $1 billion company who's going after the little guy, and like I had this all planned out. It was probably like one night drinking too much coffee, but.
Who talked you down for it?
Who talked me down for this? No one's talked me down. I would still do it. I have no problem getting sued by Mattel. What are they going to do? Send me a cease and desist letter, and then what do? Ignore it. Dude, it's the most wonderful thing. Look, you want freedom in this world? Have no assets. Like, you're pretty much bulletproof. What are you going to do? Sue me? Like, what do you want? Like, I travel with I travel with like my golf bag and a suitcase full of clothing and a laptop. Like like all the money I have now is invested in these various business ventures I have. Those are all corporations. Like, I have no assets. I can make frisbees. In fact, mental note, will you write that down and just start making frisbees? Okay. Because I wonder, because I just look at the press, the publicity that would come from making frisbee golf discs and then getting sued. Like, you can't buy that press.
Can you call them frisbee golf? Because they use that word in Europe.
Frisbee golf?
Yeah.
Oh, you can call it anything you want to, but they can ask you to stop. But
yeah, but I think
they call it frisbee golf.
They call it that in Europe. By the way, he didn't mean gyroscopes. The disc, he meant the hand exerciser thing. Oh,
when are you gonna go to the gyroscope? Oh, I thought you meant like gyroblastic from like MVP. Yeah, I'll be announcing that. I got to announce something really soon, but I can't say. It's going to be very soon. Do I ever throw Firebirds? I don't throw Firebirds, but Firebirds are awesome. I throw Felons from Dynamic Discs, and the Lucid X Felons are a lot like the flat top Firebirds. A lot like flat top Firebirds. So that's what I throw, but I would never try to talk you out of throwing a Firebird. Firebirds are great.
Do discs.
Oh, discs? Yeah. Oh, all right. Okay, those are by the way, these right there, these are the Scott Stokely Universe discs. Those are full color hot stamps. Those are actually the photographs of the disc. That's not like clip art. That's actual photographs of the discs themselves. They're available at scottstokely.net. They're all on black ESP buzzes, which is important because on the black disc, the colors pop more. And they are part of a series from Creative Rob. I got a whole series coming out designed by him. I've already seen the new designs he's designed that are just unbelievable. So these are going to be a collector's set. Oh, by the way, there's a Scott Stokely collector's page on Facebook now.
Yeah. Oh, and tell them about the blue one. So
the blue one. What about the blue one?
So the disc that's on there.
Yeah.
Because there's only one blue one. The one with the two guys on it.
Yeah.
The basket. will be coming out in a blue. It just didn't come in this run.
Oh, okay. Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So that one's going to be coming out in a run. Those two, the ones with the two characters on the left, that'll be coming out in a blue disc as well. But yeah, this is our number one favorite artist in the world. These are the coolest golf discs in the world, and I'm not bragging. I had nothing to do with it. I take zero credit for these, other than the artist contacted us and we lost our mind. He's so good. And also, Stokely Universe shirts. And ScottStokely.net. Do I like Thai food? Of course. Who doesn't?
What do you like?
What do I like in Thai food? I usually do the curry. I the different
color?
What? Probably yellow or green or red. I remember I said we like different stuff. I always, not always, but I often just order something if I don't know what it is. If it doesn't make sense to me, like I'll order it. Like one of the things we like to do when we can, and this is more like in big cities, but we go to ethnic restaurants, and we go to the ethnic restaurants where you don't see any white people there. It's really important to get authentic food. If you go to a Korean restaurant and it's filled with a bunch of white people, it's probably been Americanized a little bit. I'm not saying it has been, but it may be a little bit. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we would go to the Korean restaurant where everybody is Korean, or at least most people, just because we want more authentic food. And we went to what's that one Korean restaurant where they had all this stuff? Like there wasn't even an English translation on the menu. Everything was in Korean. They actually sent out the owner's, I think, daughter was the only person in the restaurant that spoke English. So we didn't even get the regular waitress taking our order because like nobody spoke English, which is perfect for us. And so the menu had there were some pictures, right?
There were pictures off to the side,
but they didn't really correspond with whatever.
Yeah,
so we're like,
I'm
like, it was like tapas, right? Kind of like,
yeah,
it's like
small
10
plates.
It's small plates. It's like for like $10 or $12, but you got to order like 10 of them or something for two people. But I'm like, we'll take this and we'll take this and we'll take that to start. And then she says in very broken English, she says, "Do you know what that is?" And I'm like, "No, I'll take that." She's like, and we'll take that. And she goes, "Are you sure you want that?" Like we got goat spinal cord,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. Where they actually give you the vertebrae and you have to actually pull the spinal cord out. And what else did we get? Oh, we got
cold kind of chicken, and it was in a cold white.
Yeah, we got this like no, it was a chicken or was it duck?
It was chicken.
It was chicken.
Milk.
It was chicken, but it was like cold and like in a bowl of milk. But that's what we like, right? So we 100% like that's what we prefer. We'd rather eat something we don't like that we've never had before than something we like it's one reason we don't like chain restaurants, because the food's the same every time. Every time you order something, doesn't matter where you are, it's going to be the same thing you ordered at another restaurant. So that the ribs at Applebee's at one Applebee's are the same as the ribs at another Applebee's. And so like once we've had the ribs, why would we want them again? Let's see. How should I deal with family not supporting my nomad lifestyle approaching 30? My parents are getting older, but I am waiting to settle down.
Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, thank you for the super chat. How to deal with the family not supporting? I'm going to give like a serious answer. You're not responsible to what your family think. You're responsible to yourself. The only responsibility you have is to the family you choose, which is your spouse and your children. That is who you are responsible for. You do not have any responsibility to live a life that is differently than what makes you happy. And if it makes someone else unhappy, not your problem. And I'm sorry if that sounds cold, but that's not your problem. My daughter is living her life. And if she lived a life completely different than I approve of, If I have a problem with it, that's my problem, not hers. Like, I want her to live her life the way she wants to live. And, you know, the pressure that families put on people to live differently, like parents put pressure on like their kids to have, they want their grandchildren. And I'm like, what do you mean you want grandchildren? Like, that's insane. Like, you're trying to pressure your children to like give up their life to have kids because you want grandchildren. I find it I don't want to like, I don't want to say something where I feel like half the people here are going to be like, I'm just like ripping on their parents, because that's not my intent, but I don't understand it. So your responsibility is to you. And if someone has a problem with it, that's their problem. You know, it's not just you. If you choose a spouse or a partner or partners, right, whatever relationship, you know, style you choose, that's who you're responsible for. And you're, of course, your children. That's it. Sorry, I didn't mean to get all deep and heavy there, but it's hard.
And you can settle down later. Like,
well, yeah, or
being a nomad in your 30s.
Or you don't, or you can never settle down. Like, I'm never stopping. I will not, like, I'm telling you right now, I will die driving to another town or flying to another town. I will never have a home, because that's just not my happy place. I don't have a home. I don't have a storage unit. I never want one. I want to just adventure. Like, I got TikTok, right? My time's like finite, and there's so much more to see. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's unconventional, but it's not wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. If this is what makes you happy, you know, I'll just go off on the one slight more, just tiny little bit more of a rant. This is the truth. For me personally, there is not a single house in the world that if you told me I had to wake up every single day and be in, that I would be truly happy in. I'm not. Like, there's not a single house in the world that would make me happier than pulling over into a rest area and leaning my head up against the window of the car. There's no house that's better than that. By the way, it's nowadays I get to get hotels and I'm actually doing okay. But for many years, I traveled like that. And that's my happy spot. So if that's your happy spot, make yourself happy. You don't have to get married. You don't have to have kids. You don't got to do a damn thing you don't want to do. If you don't have those yet, then why? Then you don't ever need that. Do I know how Malafronte is doing? Victor Malafronte, PDJ number 2. Last I heard, he was doing okay. The last time I talked to Victor, it was probably about a year ago. So I don't have a very current update, but I know he was trying to raise money for his back surgery that the VA wasn't paying for. So I know that he was having a hard time with that. But I love Victor. Victor's one of the, like, you know, it's, I get so offended when people say that I invented the sidearm. It's like, what, you never heard of Victor Malafronte? You know, Ken Westerfield and others, of course, too. But, you know, Victor's he's Victor. So I last I heard, he was doing well, except his back was a problem. But that's all I know. I should reach out. I'll send him a message tonight and say hi. Thank you for reminding me. I know so many people that I lose track of, like, staying in touch with people. And unfortunately, they'll be gone soon. How do we grow the sport further? Like pickleball, we need more women. Our kids programs, also kids programs in public parks. You know how we grow the sport further? We do exactly what we're doing. Like, our sport has blown up and we're only getting bigger and we're still growing. Like, do what we're doing. I mean, literally, like, exactly like, how do we grow it further? I mean, my God, like there's more disc golfers. There are not only more disc golf, there are far more rounds of disc golf played every year in the U.S. right now. Like, tomorrow, there will be far more rounds of disc golf played in the U.S. than rounds of ball golf. And this time next year, there'll be even more. So I think whatever we're doing is, like, we're doing it. I don't know how we could grow it any faster. Who's my favorite player to watch throw right now? Ooh. Oh, that's a fantastic question. God, you know what? I hate to say this. I still probably would go Paul. You know, when it really comes down to it, that Paul Macbeth is the best disc golfer in the world. And watching him throw is, it's like somebody that, I don't know. I don't know if this is the equivalent, but it's kind of like how I bet like a jazz musician would feel when they get to go to a club where the best fill in the blank, you know, instrument jazz musicians playing, and you just watch them play, and you just see them doing something at the highest possible level. And what I think also happens is, this is, I could be wrong, I don't know anything about jazz, I just pulled that out of the air, but my suspicion is when the best jazz musician in the world is playing, everybody in the club's enjoying it, but the really, really good jazz musicians are seeing things and hearing things that the other people in the club aren't seeing. I think they would have an ability to appreciate at a level. You know, when I watch Paul play, like, yeah, he's the best player in the world. He throws far. He makes all his putts. He does all these things. But I feel like me and, like, you know, like any of the players on tour, we're qualified to see things that the people in the gallery aren't seeing that he's doing. When we just go, you have no idea how hard it was to birdie those 4 holes. Well, of course, everybody in the gallery says it's hard to birdie those 4 holes. But all of us are like, yeah, but when we birdied 3 out of 4, we're thrilled. And Paul just knocked them all out. And you just go, damn, this guy has a gear that is just different. And then when he doesn't win a tournament for months, and he's still probably the favorite going into Worlds, and then he just steps up and wins again, and you're like, what the heck you got to do? So, by the way, don't get a fat head if you're listening, Paul. You're still my competition until the end of the season. But I think watching the best do the thing that I would like to be the best at, and I'm not, is probably the most fun to watch. What's your favorite mid for a long turn, Annie? The Pewa Pewa from RPM. It reminds me a little bit of the Comet from Discraft. Comet's a great disc. The Pewa Pewa, it's a very slow turn, but what's great about the Pewa Pewa is it's turned slowly, but then it doesn't want to fade. It just keeps slowing, keeps like slowly turning. And that's a very unusual characteristic for a mid-range disc. Most discs fade, and it barely fades at all. It's a very underrated disc, and I'll be having a Tour Series Pewa Pewa come out, but I'm going to wait till I'm down under to put them out. But that disc is a special disc. Would I ever have a disc company again? Who told you? Yeah. So number one, I'm very much working on it. It'll be different than the last one. That was a bad idea. But no, I'm actually working on something right now. That's one of my goals. I want to make discs. Got any stories of Central Florida? Well, Jacksonville's not really Central Florida. I got a Jacksonville story. Is that good enough? It's Florida. Is that good?
Sure.
Okay. And did I tell the Dan Berman story last one? No. Where was it that I told the Dan Berman story? Oh, no. It was on the podcast. Okay. So Dan Berman, a really good friend of mine, of ours, of all of our friends, an overall player, he passed away just a couple years ago, was from Jacksonville. And he was at a tournament. I was down in Central Florida. I was in either Gainesville or Melbourne or Clearwater, one of those 3, for the Triple Crown in February of '94. And I needed a car. So I drove up to Jacksonville. He had a car lot. And when I get to the car lot, there's like a bunch of sports cars on the lot. It's this tiny little used car lot, but he has like a handful of like convertible sports cars. And I'm like, are you specializing in sports cars? He goes, no, I rent them by the week. I'm like, wait, what? He goes, yeah, I rent sports cars, cash only, like way overpriced. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, dude, strippers. Dude, all the strippers in town rent cars from me. They have cash every single week. They totally overspend, and they pay for the cars in cash. And I was like, this dude figured out.
Kind of brilliant.
Oh, not kind of brilliant. He figured out how to make money and surround himself with strippers, running a cash business, legal.
That's starting the book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That story's in the book, by the way. I'm not making this up for the thing. Yeah, Dan Berman was he was something else. Yeah, one of my besties. Best course in California, in my opinion, De La Vega. That's not even a hard one. Although I like the Redwood Curtain up in. It's not the best course, but it's an unbelievable course. Redwood Curtain up in Arcata. The Redwood Curtain has 2 tee pads that are the stumps of redwood trees. One of the tee pads is a redwood tree stump. You have to climb up the stump because it's like 10 feet off the ground is this redwood stump. But the stump of the tree is so big that not only is there room for you to do a run up, there's room for the other 3 people on the card to be on the stump with you. And you have plenty of room for your run up. Redwood Curtain is special. That's the best course in California. My favorite course is Oak Grove Park, the world's first course in Pasadena, of course. That's where it all started. Let's see. Do I still do form reviews? I've never done form reviews. As far as people just, like on like the form review websites, I don't like it. Just I don't find it effective to just do a random form review and then correct somebody. Like you correct one thing, then something else changes because you corrected the one thing. Even if they get it right, they've now altered something else. It's not an effective teaching method. I do form reviews on my 6-month online class. I have a 6-month class. It's become a complete disc golfer. By the way, if you go to scottstokely.net, get on the mailing list, you'll be first to be notified of the upcoming class, the next class, because it's like everything I do that involves teaching, it all sells out, and it sells out almost immediately. But if you're on the mailing list, 100% everybody off the mailing list gets in the class. I do tons of form reviews in the class where you're sending videos of your throwing for the form review. But it's not just the form review. You've taken the class, you've gone through that section, we're working on things, and you're posting a form review based on the stuff you've just learned and the mechanical things you're working on. And then me or the trainers tell you what to do. You go work on it, then you come back and post again, and then we give you another form review, and you go work at it, come back and post again. The way I teach is I don't teach the end result. The end result doesn't work. Like the end result is basically like, here's a slow motion video of Paul throwing, throw like Paul. It doesn't work. It's not the way to do it. If it was, then you wouldn't even need a class. You would just watch a slow motion video and you would throw in slow motion, mimic the throw and speed it up, right? I mean, y'all know that doesn't work. If it worked, everybody would do it. What I do is I teach certain mechanical steps. You do this. I have you work on this thing. It's not the completed throw. You work on this step, then you add this step, and you add this layer and that layer. And then every step of the way, you're sending form reviews and you're building your throw. But it ends with everybody being able to throw right.
Do you need more coffee?
A little more coffee, probably. That'd be great. By the way, will the next Stokely Universe disc be the Buzz? Yes, it will be on the Buzz. I think I'm gonna keep doing the Buzz for the Universe discs.
Well, there's only 2 molds we can get them on because of the printing process.
Yeah, because the printing process, you need a really flat disc to print on, so there's limits anyways. Although there are, we will be doing some dynamic full color as well, but I can't share. I have more stuff in the works.
That's also why we're not using just one of your other tour disc molds.
Oh, is that? Yeah, that's why I'm not using. Yeah, exactly. By the way, you can buy Scott Stokely Growing Up Disc Golf at scottstokely.net. You can also download the audiobook read by me. And I actually did a really mediocre job, but I had a really good sound person. It makes it sound like I did a good job, but I didn't. It was it was all post production, but the end result is it's good. When the Worlds are finally held in Europe, what country should host it? Finland? I would think so. I mean, it would really depend. I mean, it's going to be Scandinavia. That's like almost a guarantee. We think. I mean, but who's to say? Someone doesn't throw $1 million at a tournament in Barcelona, like, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, there's a reason to do it in Barcelona. I mean, if the money's right. But logically, Finland seems like the most obvious one. But Sweden, Norway, and Estonia are crushing. Like, it's they're all great. But I mean, Finland's probably if I was betting money. Have I played course in Arkansas besides Jonesboro? Yeah, I played. God, what's the one? The one I played the Arkansas State Championships in. Is it Bryan Park? The one not Jones Park, Bryan Park. Brian Jones Park. The one it's in Little Rock. I've played that. I've played some courses in Fayetteville. You gotta look it up. The one in Arkansas. I won the Arkansas State Championships in.
Yeah,
Bryan Park. I won the Arkansas State. It was a great little course. It's a cute little course, but it's fun. Yeah. So I've played those. Where'd I get the birdie hat? Birdie sent it to me. Derek Fell sent it to me. But
Birdie Disc Golf Supply.
Birdie Disc Golf Supply is where you can find it. Do sponsors help the buy-in for tournaments? Is it easy to be sponsored? It is so easy to be sponsored. Whether they give you the buy-ins, that's up to whatever you negotiate with them. I have a video on my YouTube channel that says anybody can get sponsored because anybody can get sponsored. I'll give you the 50-cent version, and then I go into more details on the website. Sponsorship isn't about how good you are, how many tournaments you've won, what your potential is. It's not about any of those things. What sponsorship is, it's if a company sponsors you, how much more profit will they see because they sponsored you? If I wear this birdie hat, and because of me wearing this birdie hat, Birdie makes $100 in extra profit because of birdie sales, then I'm entitled to some of that $100 because I generated $100 profit for them by being sponsored. Well, my negotiation might say, if I wear the birdie hat, I want $30. Then I make $30 for wearing the hat. They still make $70 profit because of this decision to pay me $30 to wear the hat. That's all sponsorship is. Wins and losses are a part of it because if you win tournaments using a disc or a company's disc or shopping at a certain pro shop or wearing certain gear, then it's more likely, all things being equal, that people will want to do what you're doing and throw what you throw. But if you're a 1,010 rated player and you win a tournament and you tell everybody you throw this company's discs and they sell 10 discs because of it, but you're an 800, but someone else is an 800 rated player, but they make a video with 50,000 views that also tells people to buy those discs, and 100 discs get sold because of that, that 850 player is far more valuable to the company than the 1,000 rated player is in terms of sales. And they're going to get more money. They should get more money for it. So sponsorship isn't about performance. It's about how much you can move the meter at a company, at a pro shop, at a website, at a disc company. So anybody. Now, as far as them buying in at tournaments, that's what you negotiate. Well, as part of my package, I want you to pay my entry fees at tournaments. But if they weren't paying your entry fees, that could have been a cash deal anyways. Like my entry fees this year were like $5,000, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I probably spent $5,000 in entry fees. Nobody paid my entry fees, but they paid me money, which went to entry fees. So it's all the same. Playing safari golf in Africa. That's a tough lie. Why, Riley? Your leopard is in a hyena's mouth. That's a bit of a stretch there, Riley. But I will be in Africa. I want to play tournaments in Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and South Africa next year. Not this winter, but the winter after. My goal is to disc golf all over Africa. There's only like 4 courses there, but I want to go play them all. How did I meet Adriana? Okay, I'll give you the very short version because I just got through saying that the how you met stories are awful, right?
Yeah.
But so yeah, don't tune out, everybody. I won't. This isn't too boring, I promise. No, I was traveling around the country. I was single for the first time in my life. I mean, I've had lots of different partners, but I've always jumped from one relationship to the next. I never actually spent more than 20 minutes single ever. And so I took off and I was like, I'm going to travel around the country and be single and just have fun and meet people. And I'm not going to like get into a relationship with the first waitress that brings me coffee, which is what I usually do or what I've always done. And so what I would do when I was traveling, because I was I'd be in town for like a week or something doing, or a few days doing, I was teaching disc golf. So what I was doing is I would plan like 2 weeks ahead and I would be meeting women where I was going to be 2 weeks from now. And I just tried to stay like 2 weeks ahead. So I'd be talking to someone, in 2 weeks that I'm going to be there. And then a week later, I'd be talking to them, but I'd also be talking to someone, with the next town. And the idea is that I just wanted to have a girlfriend like when I got to town. That way, it's really hard. It's really hard to meet people like, hey, I'm in town. Let's meet, whatever. So anyways, I was just making friends while I traveled that way. And so I met her when she's in Fort Worth. I was in Houston. I was going to be in Fort Worth in a couple of weeks, and I met her and we got to talking. And the thing I've always believed, there's nothing wrong with how you live your life, but you need to do it honestly. Like you can't screw with people. I don't mess with anybody. So I told her, I go, look, there's only 2 things like that are in stone. Number 1, I'm not staying. So I'm like, I'm going to hang out for a week. And she's like, yeah, you can stay with me for the week. Perfect. Right. We got a place to stay. And I said, but look, at the end of the week, I'm not staying. Like, don't even ask. Like, I'm leaving in a week. And number 2, you're not coming with me. Don't even ask. Like, I don't want to travel with anybody. I want to be single. But if you're cool with that, then everything's on the table. Like, we're cool. I was cool with it. She was cool with it. We went. I stayed there for a week. And then after a week, I left. But I found myself, like, talking to her every single day after I left. And then I came back to visit, and then she ended up coming out to visit me while I was traveling, and that was basically it. So we got along really well, but it just started off as a, what do you call it? There's lots of words for it. It's what it is, what it is. Like, it started off as I'm in town for a week. So anyways, that's it. That's how I met her. Now she's my best everything. Do you have to pay me to answer a question? Oh my gosh, I should say yes. No, you don't have to pay me to answer a question. I'm here with you're Lenny. The fact that you're in this group is you're officially my friend. And you don't have to pay me to answer questions. People do, like, they make donations as they go, which I'll never turn down, but this is not required. I'm not doing, like, I'll promote stuff I'm selling from my store, but like, you never have to give me a penny ever your entire life. And I will treat you the same as everybody else. So if you have a question, shoot it over. If a brawl broke out on the course, what 2 pros do I want to have your back? Kevin Babcock, for sure. What did I say?
Kevin?
Did I say Kevin?
Kevin?
okay, Gavin Babcock, for sure. He's the first one. He was a stud wrestler. So I would definitely say for sure. The second person, though, I don't know who else knows how to fight. I like to fight. Like, I trained for years in different fights, and I love sparring and grappling and rolling with people, and like I think that's fun. But
I didn't know Gavin was a wrestler.
Yeah, no, Gavin was an accomplished wrestler.
Built like one.
Yeah, no, Gavin would whoop the crap out of me, and I don't say that about a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think Gavin would stretch me in about 10 seconds.
Riley says he's in.
Riley's in. I'll take Riley. Am I selling the discs at the GMC? Spectator would love to grab one. Were we talking about having discs available tomorrow night?
We were talking about trying to get
a vending permit?
Booth at the fest on Saturday.
Yeah, we might try to get a booth tomorrow night, maybe. But I don't know. We don't have, I mean, maybe. I don't know. See, the thing about, I won't ever sell out of the back of my truck at the course without permission. I haven't even asked anybody, because there are vendors that paid all this money to sponsor the tournament. And I personally, I don't find it ethical to sell discs when there's vendors that paid money for the rights to sell discs without permission. When I ask permission, then I can get permission. But let's see. Nice, Brent. So Brent said he got his first, finally shot his first under par 18-hole round despite a bogey and a double bogey. Congratulations. That's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed the seminar. Yeah, it works, right? This stuff is great. What has happened and is happening with Lightning Discs? Make them, maybe. You can get Lightning Discs from Gotta Go, Gotta Throw. I believe they either own Lightning or are co-owners of Lightning now. Lightning Discs are, I mean, they're great. I mean, they were dated, and Steve Howell ran an interesting business, but some of those discs flew really well. So, yeah, it's Lightning was a classic. I mean, they were one of the original three. I mean, it used to be Innova was the big one, and then Discraft, and then Lightning was, Light was the clear number 3 disc company in the sport for years. They make good discs. Will I be at the MVP? I will be at the MVP next weekend. I will be there. I have to qualify on Tuesday. There's a qualifying event. So I got into this one based on points. But as the series starts to wind down, they start narrowing the field more and more. And I don't have enough points for the MVP. So I got to play the qualifier. But I'm expecting to qualify. I did nothing on those. Yeah, I did nothing on those discs. The characters left have my leg proportions.
It's not your art.
Yeah, no. Well, but that's his interpretation of my universe. So that may be very well how he interprets me. I don't know. I've never asked him if that's me or not. I don't know if I want to know. Tasselhoff. Remember Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman? Yeah, for sure. The Dragonlance. I think you introduced me to Dragonlance, Riley, back when. And I actually mentioned in the book that I like Dragonlance better than Lord of the Rings. And probably 3 of the 72 people in here are about to click off, because that's sacrilege to not think Lord of the Rings is the best fantasy ever. But I'm a Dragonlance, Mark. Were you the first to do a 360 forehand drive? I mean, when I set the Guinness World Record for the longest throw of a sidearm, like I did it with a 360, and I just threw a 600-foot sidearm on flat ground with almost no wind at a clinic, shot with a laser multiple times. It was 600 feet, and I did it with a 360 sidearm. I wouldn't say that no one's ever tried it before, but no one ever did it in competition. Like you can't say anybody did anything first, because a week after the first flying discs were made, every single throw had probably been tried. you know, a 4-year-old had probably taken the disc and spun around 3 times and thrown it by that point. So inventing things is you got to put quotes around. But the 360 sidearm is me. No one did it before me. No one's ever done it as well. Do you think there should be a separate governing body for the women? You know what? That's that's a real good question. I mean, there's pros and cons to both of those things. I think that right now, I mean, eventually the women's disc golf and we'll say FPO and MPO, they're going to have to eventually split off, like, because they're like the FPO is still getting bigger and bigger, but right now FPO is still getting the benefit of being connected to MPO. It has a lot of the galleries that come out for the MPO, but they come out to watch the women play because they're here to watch the MPO. Well, as long as we're watching the MPO, there's Kristen and Paige and Evelina, and they come out to play. They wouldn't necessarily have come out just to watch the women. But what happens when they come out is they go, well, we're here anyways. We might as well go watch the women. I mean, we already booked our room for the night. And they come out and they're like, holy shit, these women are like, they're great. And they make great shots. And it's exciting to watch. And that the fan base gets built. So even though they might have come out to watch MPO, when they see the women play, they're like, okay, this is the real deal. And so I think that right now the FPO is still benefiting from being attached to MPO. So I wouldn't want to see it break off yet. But it probably will eventually, like even if it's like the Disc Golf Pro Tour and you have a separate, you know, I mean, look, there's tournaments fill and there's only so many places with courses and more people want to play that can't even get in tournaments. Eventually it's going to have to. There's just not space for everybody. So I think it's eventual, but I don't think it should happen yet. I think it's probably close. That's just a guess. There's no right answer there, but.
All right, it's almost 2 hours now. You want to kind of like zoom through the next couple?
Let's keep going a little bit longer. Okay. I'm doing good. I'll hang out for a little bit longer.
You're adequately caffeinated today.
I'm adequately.
You haven't even yawned once yet.
No, it's because I took a nap after my round. I was so depressed after how I shot today. I came home and just fell right asleep. And I'm always happy, but I still get disappointed. That was just awful today. Thoughts on elevation discs, KOI, Koi, why don't pros throw them? I save strokes on holes where baskets are on steep hills, no rollaways. Only need to throw them when needed. I don't know anything about elevation discs. What are those? Well, I guess that's probably, I would say I would blame, my thought on them is they need help in their marketing department because I'm not familiar with them. Any good memories of playing in Illinois? Yeah, I have quite good memories playing everywhere. I know I once traveled like 1,500 miles to a one-day tournament because I went there in the 90s twice and played so poorly that I drove like 1,500 miles to go out to the Mississippi Open and won it because I was so mad at how I had played the two years that I played it that I drove all the way out there. Here, I'll give you an example. This is how far disc golf has come. We were at a tournament. We were at in 1993. It was 93. We were all at the Ohio State Championships in Dayton, Ohio. Okay, this is the Ohio State Championships. It's a real tournament. It would be the equivalent of a B tier. Well, I mean, everything's a C tier back then because they had no prize money added. But in terms of prestige, it wasn't a major like A tier tournament, but it wasn't a tiny one. It was the Ohio State Championships. And we're at the tournament on Saturday. There's no internet, mind you. And somebody says, hey, I heard there's a tournament tomorrow in Sterling, Illinois that has a guaranteed $5,000 purse. Total purse, $5,000. And we're like, how far is that? And the tournament was, I think it was like a 6 or an 8 hour drive, something like that. 6 or 7 hours. And at the end of the tournament on Saturday at like 5 o'clock at night, we're all dropping out of the tournament and driving to Sterling. So we dropped out of the Ohio State Championships, a weekend tournament on Saturday night, 5 of us got in the car, drove like 8 hours, like all night, to go to a one-day tournament in Sterling, Illinois, because we heard that there was a $5,000 total purse, which is probably what, $500 for first place or something like that. But that was just an ungodly amount of money back then to us. And the idea that there was a $5,000 purse at a frisbee golf tournament, that was just insane.
Are they still paying like 40% of the field that time?
Probably 30%. I'll tell you what, I have another really weird memory from that tournament too. We crashed at this guy's house. It's just a very strange memory, but I crashed at the house, and I asked him what he did for a living, and he says, I make nails. That's the story. That's the whole story. It was this weird moment where like
somebody has to, but
like obviously somebody has to make nails, but until that exact moment in my life, I never considered that somebody makes nails.
Yeah, I never considered somebody makes the cellophane wrapping that holds stuff together. Like
yeah,
the little packet with the stick and the creamer and the sugar. Like there's somebody that makes those.
Yeah, somebody has to make all. Yeah, I just didn't realize that anybody made nails. Weird, right? How did disc golfers support themselves in the 80s, 90s, and even the early 2000s when they didn't get the support money they do these days? Yeah, they didn't. Well, okay, so there were 2 exceptions to this. Ken Climo and myself were the only ones who made any money in the 90s playing disc golf. No one else made anything. The way you supported yourself was you stayed at people's houses. I'm not talking about myself, but the other players that were out on tour. They would crash at people's houses. There would be 3 people to a car, 2 or 3 people to a car, crash at people's houses. You would be eating bologna sandwiches. Like a lot of the people that toured in the early days, there might be 2 or 3 people on tour. They would agree that they would split prize money, because if one person won $150 and someone else won none, like that would be enough where that person might be broke. But $150 is $30 in the tank and $120 that the 2 of them could eat for the week, because it's bread and bologna, and like that was living. You never stayed at a hotel ever. Like hotels were absolutely like a level that you didn't do. You always crashed at people's houses. You didn't sleep in your car. Everywhere you went, there was some place to crash on the living room floor. But that's how you made it. You left with a couple $100 in your pocket, and then 5 months later, if you were lucky, if you made it all 5 months, you came home with a couple $100 in your pocket. That's what everybody did. No one made any more than that. Until I went out in 1993, and I was like, there's no way that I'm living like, I mean, that's just too stressful. And plus, that people were like, everybody that went out was single. Nobody went out with like a partner, right? Well, I went out with my well, actually it was my wife at the time, took her out with me, and I had to support 2 of us. And so what I did is I came up with the idea, what if I put a bunch of hot stamps on discs and sell them at tournaments? And I'll make a bunch of shirts with cool designs and sell them at tournaments. And I'll print minis and hats and socks and underwear. I had tie-dyed underwear. And I would set up at Tournament Central, and every single tournament I would sell like $1,000 worth of stuff, because there was no internet. There were no pro shops selling discs in town. Everybody, like, you bought when, like it was, you couldn't even find discs. So I'd be set up. I'd sell $1,000 worth of stuff, make $500 profit at every tournament. Plus I'd win another 150, which meant we were making like $600 or $700 a week. So we could actually eat fast food, which was next level, right? But that's what I did. I never went out and just lived off of, like, I couldn't do that. It's just too much, too stressful. But then in 1996, it's kind of a long story, but I got the first Tour Series disc from Discraft. Whammo had done some discs in the past. I know Victor Malafronte was on a disc, and maybe John Kirkland. But I got the first real good deal. I was getting $40,000 a year salary to play disc golf for a living, and all the discs I could sell which meant that all of a sudden now I wasn't having to give away 50% of my profit selling discs. So then I was traveling around the country running doubles events, Discraft double series, doing clinics. So in the 1996, 97, 98, I was making over $100,000 a year, which was like nobody else was making 10 in disc golf. So I was like, I actually bought a house. I bought a condo, but I was the first disc golfer to actually be a homeowner from disc golf, not from prize money, but from all the different ways I was monetizing my trip. So that's what I did. Everyone else was doing it basically for the most part, just off of prize money. Ken, who wasn't a touring player because he didn't actually stay on the road, after I started doing the Elite Series discs, after that, the KC line came out and Ken started getting royalties. And I don't know what his deal was. I think it was similar, but I don't quote me on that. I have no idea. You know, that's how that works. So I did okay, but everyone else was struggling. The best teachers and players are still students of the game. What are your biggest lessons you've learned this year? As far as teaching, like I don't think I'm not learning a whole lot new teaching other than my online course. I'm not trying. Okay, this is not a segue just to plug my course, but it is what I've learned this year because I've been doing private lessons and clinics, and then I was doing seminars for years. I never did an online class before, and the reason I didn't do an online class was because I didn't know how it would translate. I wasn't going to just make a bunch of videos and then you pay me money and download my videos and I would write out this curriculum, practice 25 of this, 50 of that. I mean, like anybody could do that. It's like, I didn't think it would work and I would never take money if I thought it wouldn't work. So it took me years to figure out how to put something together to teach online that would be effective. And what I came up with is this thing I'm doing now, my 6-month class, which is it's 2 live classes every month, but you're also part of a group. When you're part of that class, you're part of a group with all the other students interacting. I have paid trainers active every single day in the group. Everybody's posting form reviews, reviewing each other's forms. Our trainers are reviewing forms. But I developed this process of teaching that works. Like it doesn't just work. It's like it works amazing. And by the way, if you go to scottstokely.net, you can get on the mailing list. The next class is going to be opening it up in like a month or two. I'm about to announce it actually. So that's probably the biggest thing I learned is I learned that I can teach online with the method that I teach. If someone tries to teach online and they just have a class that says stand like this, plant your foot here, turn your shoulder there, like that's all on YouTube. And y'all might have noticed this when you watch those videos on YouTube and go out and do it, it doesn't work. Not really. So I learned to create a process that works. I'm super proud of it. Can I dunk a basketball? I used to be able to, probably not now. I never had vertical. I was always, but I'm 6'7", so yes, I could. Barely. Scott, you're 8, 12, right, and 13 years old. Is that good? Yeah, I would say that's right about that's on pace. Here's what you want to do at 13 years old. If getting good is important to you, what matters is that you're improving. Like you don't have to improve every day. You're going to have ups and downs, especially because since you're younger and newer, you're going to try things and some things work, some things don't. So like you might get better and then you'll make a change to your technique because you're trying to improve. And next thing you know, oh, that was a bad idea. You get worse. Don't sweat it. As long as, I'm going to start on the video here, as long as the ups and downs are eventually, or, continue to go up, you're fine. Don't worry. So don't worry about having a bad day or a bad tournament or a bad month. But you want to be better next year than you are this year. Like you certainly want to be improving. I wouldn't, I would say the biggest thing to focus on is your mechanics. Try to make your throwing like as best as you are able to do with proper form. If there's a pro in your area that does lessons, because you're 13 years old, you could probably get them to help you out. They might be able to, depending on your situation, might be able to work with you on that. I would certainly, when I work with kids, it's a little different than if I'm working with an adult that I know can pay me, right? But I would say work with a local pro. Like it doesn't matter who they are. If they're a local pro, they're better than you. They know more than you, and you can learn from them. Be a sponge to learning. And by the way, I'm not going to give you the thing everybody says, just have fun. I think that's a little bit disingenuous, because when people say, oh, just have fun, it's sports. Sports is, I mean, it's about having fun, but by definition, sports is about keeping score. It's about competition. It's about, even if you're just competing against yourself, there's more to sports than just having fun. I believe. I'm not into participation medals where everybody just has a good time and it doesn't matter. You know, I think if you're trying to get good at a sport, then you need to do things to get good at that sport. Fun is important, but so is doing your best to succeed. I mean, I know that contradicts the modern way of viewing sports, but it's sports. There's a million hobbies out there where they don't keep score. Like, you paint for fun, you go to the movies for fun, but you play sports to compete generally. And so, yeah. So anyways, long answer to your question. 812 rated for 13-year-olds is absolutely, you're on pace. You're not behind the curve or anything like that. Just keep getting better. Would I ever sponsor a player? 100%. If I'm able to manufacture discs, which I'd like to do, then yes, it like, for sure, like, there's benefit to it. It just comes down to the same thing I said earlier about what it takes to be sponsored. If sponsoring a player will make me more money than my sponsorship cost, I'll sponsor that player. If there were 100 people out there and each of them will make me more money because I sponsor them, then I would sponsor 100 players, because it's just, sponsorship is just part of your marketing budget. Whether you sponsor a player or buy a television ad or a billboard or the back of a bus stop, or it doesn't matter what it is. It's just spending money to make money. So yes, of course I would, if I thought it was going to make money. Do I think I'll continue to throw Kastaplast next year? Oh my God, I will throw the Berg the rest of my life. I love Kastaplast. I love the Stahl. I love the Lutz. Those are both staples in my bag. Absolutely 100% love those discs. But the Berg is my, I kind of have a crush on the Berg. I don't tell Adriana, but sometimes after she goes to sleep, I cuddle with my Berg.
I have pictures.
You have pictures? You do not. No, don't ever share those. Burn them. She doesn't have pictures of me cuddling with the Berg. Do I enjoy wooded courses or open courses more? Wooded courses all day, every day. Much prefer woods. 100% for sure. I like woods. I like hard woods courses. I like par 4s and par 5s. I like 1,000-foot holes in the woods where there's a chance of taking a 9. I like hard, really, really, really difficult woods courses. That's where I play my best, but it's also what I enjoy the most. Do I think Kristen Tattar deserves a more lucrative contract than the 4-year, $500,000 contract she has with Lat 64 right now? Well, keep something in mind. I don't know the details of the contract, so I can't speak for her. But when they made that deal with her, there was no guarantee that she was going to win. Now, if she winds up winning the Worlds the next several years, she's probably underpaid. But what if she got injured and didn't succeed the next 4 years? Then she's overpaid. Like when an athlete signs a contract, whether or not they were worth that contract is in hindsight. I also don't know. I can't tell you how many disc sales happen because of Kristen being sponsored. Like if Latitude makes $2 million in like over those 4 years because they sponsor her, they make $2 million profit, then she probably deserved more than $500,000. But if they made less than that, she doesn't. That's all sponsorship is. It's just a marketing budget. It's like any other marketing. If you get a return on the investment, it's worth it. And if you don't, it's not. Now, she's the best woman disc golfer in the world. I think that there's like, I think this is one of those great, well, I guess this happens often, but the best player in the world won, which is really cool because she's the best in the world. And she's going to be a force for years and years. So when it's all said and done, I bet she renegotiates for more. And by the way, keep something in mind too. When a person is making that contract, it's like that's not the only money that a person makes. You know, like any sponsorship I get, it's like that's great. I'm doing 10 other things, you know, because of my name in the sport. And so if Kristen takes that money and that's all she does with her name, she doesn't brand other products or license herself out, then you know she's not taking advantage of like she's leaving a lot of money on the table. So just because a disc company gives you a certain amount does not mean that's your limit. You know, like there's so many different opportunities out there for her, like for the rest of her life. I mean, she should be financially stable the rest of her life if she plays it right, because she's the best in the world at something that is a lot of people do. But yeah, I'm a numbers guy when it comes to sponsorship. Like in mixed martial arts, like why does this person get paid more than that person? Well, because more people buy the pay-per-view when this person fights than when that person fights. It's like, yeah, but that person's the champion. And as far as pay, being the champion is not as important as what sells the most tickets. Whoever sells the most tickets gets paid the most money, because that's just business. It's not about who deserves something based on anything else. It's all about who moves the meter. Now, Kristen moves the meter because she's the best in the world. There's no question that people buy products because of her. So I hope that, you know, that she renegotiates a double fat, triple fat contract next time, and then also uses her name for other things as well. The sky's the limit for her. There's no ceiling on how much she can make. Am I playing the Heiser Brownie Dreamweaver Pro Open January 28th and 9? Am I playing that one? No.
You're playing.
I'm playing
the Samoswine.
The what set? What's it called?
Samoswine.
Samoswine?
Yeah, Samoswine Classic.
Samoswine Classic in Thailand.
February 3rd through the 5th.
February 3rd through the 5th. Yeah, no, I will be actually, I believe that I will be in. Oh, I gotta make a note. I gotta send my schedule to Singapore. They need it right away. I completely forgot. I gotta send that tonight. Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to be in Singapore teaching classes, disc golf classes, I think then. And I just completely forgot, and because I got a message from him. Oh my God, that's terrible. I gotta send it to him like tonight. Okay, Jeff. Started putting with the Wizard and Birdie Marvel, ditching the Vibram Ridge putter at the beginning of the summer. What a game changer. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, putters are very individual. You got to find the one that works for you. That's why you'll never hear me say, like, I putt the Scott Stokely Tour Series Wizard on long putts and the Scott Stokely Tour Series Marvel on, you know, like circle putts or a little bit farther. But I would never tell anybody those are the best putters, because putters are so individual. I'm straight with everybody. I wish I wasn't. I'd make more money. I tell everybody that this is the best putter in the world. I can't do that. But if they work for you, fantastic. Whatever putter works for you is great. Chick-fil-A or Popeyes? God, if I say neither, is that terrible?
Wrong.
Yeah. So
That's chicken,
so here, okay. I got two fast food places I eat at.
Yeah, it's chicken, so it's
No. Yeah. So basically, I avoid chains like the plague. I just truly do. But when you travel, sometimes you know, I mean, like I wouldn't go hungry rather than eat fast food. I'll still eat it if it's the only thing there, with two exceptions. There's two restaurants that are my favorite fast food places, and I'm eating them well, basically any chance I get, because there's not many opportunities. But I love canes, and I love chilies. I mean, Skyline chili. And it's funny because every time I eat canes, I think, wow, this is so good. I'm going to miss canes when I leave the country for a year and a half. Every single time I eat Skyline, I think this is the most disgusting thing I ever ate. It kind of makes me sick to my stomach. The next day is awful. Like, I don't like it. And the next time I see a Skyline, I go there. Like, it's kind of like, it's like a drug. Skyline's like it's almost like being an alcoholic who always gets a hangover. And every single time you're like, why do I do this to myself? This is all, bourbon. That's kind of what I do with so I don't do Chick-fil-A or Popeyes, but I will do Cane's and Skyline. Wendy's or Whataburger?
That one's Brahms.
That one is what?
Brahms.
Probably I go to Brahms.
Culver's? Maybe?
Culver's? No, Wendy's or what? No, but see, if I say I don't eat Whataburger, all the Texas people will stop buying my discs.
No, because Brahms is in Texas too.
Yeah, but dude, I don't care if Brahms is in Texas. Texas is loyal to Whataburger. I went to the first Whataburger in Corpus Christi. Yep. Yeah, how about that for like a tourist destination? The world's first Whataburger. Pizza Hut or Domino's? Neither.
Pizza Hut, they have wings.
Pizza Hut has wings. I don't do bread. So I don't do that. No, we do. You're gonna hate me for saying this, but I eat cauliflower crust because I don't do bread because I'm training. So I try to avoid bread at all costs. About the only time I eat anything bread, pasta is like the Skyline chili, which is like once a month, and then the breading on some stuff. But the pizza, you can't get the like cauliflower crust at those places. Kristen is the first mother to win Worlds. Are you with me in thinking more should have been made of this fact to help promote women in disc golf? Yeah, so this is where I think it's I want to like tread lightly on this one because I certainly don't want to like I think I'm trying to think of how to like answer this because I don't want to answer this be dismissive, but I don't want to jump on like any type of like modern it's 2022 bandwagon with certain things. But I think I don't think of her as a mom. I just think of her as an athlete. You know, I don't think of her as a woman disc golfer. I think of her as a disc golfer. She's just a professional athlete. And I think that women's disc golf is great. And I think that, but I just think that we should be promoting so I think we should promote disc golf. And disc golf is men's, women's, amateur, pro, junior, adult, age. It's like, I don't give a shit. Like, we should be promoting disc golf. And if any group wants to go promote that group, then, like, there's nothing stopping you from doing it. So if there are women that want to just go out and say, we're just going to promote women's disc golf, we're going to start a women's tour, like, you got my full support on that. You know, there's Dave Feldberg's promoting an amateur tour. I'm sure there'll be Dan Roddick at Whammo used to promote worldwide juniors tournaments, you know. So I think that the sport itself is just promoting disc golf. I mean, it's not promoting or excluding anybody. It's like there's no barrier to anybody playing disc golf at the highest level, and a certain number of people have played. So I don't know that they should have made more of it, but I wouldn't say they should make less of it. I think it's just promoting disc golf. I don't think of her as a mother. Like, I mean, she's just an athlete. And I don't know if there's I don't want that to be misinterpreted, but she's a professional athlete. She's one of my peers. She's in my tribe, but she's not a mother to me. She's a professional athlete. And
that's a good thing though, because it's her focus is, it doesn't take away from the fact that she has a life, but
when you play a sport, you have your sport and you have your life. I mean, there's a lot of moms and dads that play professional sports. A lot of people have families and play professional sports. And, you know, a lot of people are away from their families to support their families while they're playing professional sports. And I don't, like, I wouldn't, like, for instance, I wouldn't say like all the dads in the NBA should be like, you know, hey, well, they're an NBA player, but also a dad. Like, no, they're NBA players. So I wouldn't treat the WNBA differently and say, well, but if you're in the WNBA, it should be pointed out that you're also a mom. Well, there's also dads out there. There's just people with kids. Like, I don't know. You know, I don't know if this is a naive viewpoint from a different generation, but I just think of her as an athlete, and I think of her as the best in the world. I truly do. When I was getting 40K, who from Discraft? Discraft. 980, 18 years old, is that good? Yeah, that's really good. I mean, 980 is top 1/30th of 1% of players in the world. I would say 980 at 18 years old is probably about the pace you want to be like a world-class disc golfer. You have people like Gannon Burr and Cole Redalian that are like, you know, they're like, there's always going to be exceptions. Jake Mon, right? There's always outliers that get better earlier, but you're not behind them. Like you're like, that's right on pace. You know, it's there's nothing there. Focus on your mechanics and keep trying to get better. And the best thing you can do, the 18 years old, perfect. Figure out how to go on tour. And when you go on tour, it doesn't have to be the DGPT. Like, it could be you and a buddy get in the car, make some discs to sell, and then travel around the Midwest or travel around the Rocky Mountains and just play disc golf tournaments for a living. That is by far, hands down, the best way in the world to get good at disc golf is to dive in. And I'm going to give you a lesson, disc golf V3. There's an expression called burn your boats. Is the expression. And by the way, someone in the comments can tell me exactly where this actually came from. But there was basically some person, I'm gonna get the details wrong, but you'll get the point. They basically they traveled across the ocean, and they were gonna be battling to conquer like some country they were in or some territory they're in, and the person, the general that led them over there, made them burn their boats. And the reason they had to burn their boats was because as long as they had the boats to get in and go back home, he was afraid that they wouldn't fight. Because they always knew they had a way out. And that way out was they could always get back on the boats with their tail between their legs and go home. So if you burn your boats, you either win this battle or whatever you're trying to accomplish, or you die. Right? Now, fortunately, we're not playing to the death, right? But that was the expression came from. Like, someone's going to tell me where that comes from. But basically, when you go on tour, you are doing this for a living. Like, that's how you get good. I mean, your game will get so sharp because you're disc golfing full time every single day. You're competing every weekend. You're playing against people better than you, and you got something on the line. Like, you need to practice because you got a tournament this weekend. And that tournament this weekend is important because you kind of want to eat on Sunday. And if you can, anything you can do to get on the road, but it doesn't have to be the DGPT. Whereas a 980 player, you're going to struggle to cash now. Doesn't mean you're going to struggle to cash in 3 years, but it means right now you're going to struggle. By the way, and even if you do cash, you might get your entry fee back. You didn't make any money to begin with. But go travel around Utah, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Arizona, California. Like just go out to the West Coast, go to beautiful places, have a time of your life. Oh, and by the way, you're playing a B tier, and you finished third place at the B tier. Here's $700. Oh, and by the way, you also sell some tour, some merchandise that you made up, right? And you get some sponsorship help. That's how you want to that's how you dive in with the sharks without having to dive in with the sharks. And once you're out touring, next thing you know, holy crap, now I'm 1010 rated. I've been improving every year. I think I want to go into DGP next year. Well, you'll get better still. But that's what I recommend doing. Just get on the road.
Burning the Ships is origin from 1519.
Okay, burning the ships is from 1519.
Spanish expedition led by
Cortez. That was Cortez that did it?
Yeah, when they landed in Mexico.
Oh, Cortez was like one of the shittiest people ever. Well, okay, so this really terrible person gave one piece of really good metaphorical advice. Who knows if they actually did that or not? I'd be surprised if he actually.
Said they burned 10 of the 11 ships.
They burned. Okay, so Cortez burned 10 of the 11 ships. You know why? He saved. He saved. That asshole saved his own ship. Okay, yeah. So I knew Cortez was terrible. So he burned 10 of the 11. So he burned all his men's ships, but he left one ship for himself. Hypocrite. But anyways, the metaphor is metaphor is true. By the way, there's even a story about a wrestler who I forget who it was, but a famous amateur wrestler, not pro wrestling, but wrestler who went to it was either Oklahoma or Iowa or something like that. But one of the meccas of NCAA, wrestling. And his parents said, look, you're going to go out there if you ever, and by this, I forget his name, but it's someone that I've even heard of. He's actually well known. And he had a very bad freshman year. And his parents said to him, look, if you don't make it, that's okay. You can always come home and work on the farm. You always got a place. And according to the story, after his freshman year, he went out, he drove his car out to a field and he set it on fire. And he did it because he was so committed that was his way of removing his way back home. He of course he can always go back home, but in his mind, he was burning the boats. How do you keep your arm from hurting after playing multiple rounds in a day? You get tennis elbow from too many forehand throws. Boy, would you be mad at me if I said throw less forehand throws? Yeah, okay.
Because it's the bicep.
Yeah, it's the bicep right above the elbow. It's always what hurts. Yeah, so I'm not trying to sell you something, but number one, you got to have proper mechanics. It'll reduce the chance of hurting. And that's what my online class does. It'll teach you the right way to throw. But I will tell you that this is what I believe. I believe this 100% is that proper backhand mechanics, you could throw your entire life and you should never have an injury from throwing the backhand. It's so low impact. Backhands should never hurt. With sidearms, even with perfect mechanics, you can still hurt your arm with perfect mechanics. It's just it's a type of motion. It's a different mechanical motion in the backhand. It strains your arm in a different way. So even with proper sidearm form, you can still hurt your arm throwing sidearm. But you will, with proper mechanics, you'll reduce how much you hurt it. You reduce the chances of it hurting. You reduce the strain on your arm. So I would say, if you were interested in taking the class, it's not a terrible thing. Stop throwing for a little bit, because the thing about injuries is it's not if you keep throwing, it's going to work itself out and all of a sudden get better. You're only going to make it worse. You need to let it heal, let the inflammation go down, and then start from scratch. It is what I'd recommend doing, but there's no promises. What's our ideal temperature to play in? And your preferred thermostat setting when indoors in Fahrenheit? What's the temperature in here right now? What do we set it at? 76 degrees. I like anything warm. I think that, warm. I'm a fair weather player now. I don't mind hot. I'm in pretty good shape, so 90 degrees, 90% humidity is not a big deal to me. And I think it's because I'm in really good shape, so it just doesn't really bother me. But cold gets to me. That age thing and cold, they don't go together. You've been messing with the yips in tournament play and the cusp of playing professional. How much practice do you need putting to see less yips? I know my mental game needs strength, but that's my situation to deal with. Yeah, so So two things. One, and I won't go into the whole thing here because it would take like 12 minutes, but conquering putting nerves or conquering putting anxiety on my YouTube channel. We'll talk all about the mental part of that. It's not going to be some trick, all that stuff about take 3 deep breaths or create some mental thing in your head. I don't buy any of that. I just doesn't make any sense to me. I explain some things to you in a way of seeing things differently that should take some of that out. Number one. Number two, mechanics. Proper mechanics is also the best way to overcome yips. Like if your hand is falling through at the target in the right spot, whether you're nervous or calm, the disc is going to the exact same spot. If you aren't like improper mechanics, if you're following through not at the target and you're forced to release the disc at a very specific time and you tense up, you're less likely to release at the right time. Or if you get, nervous, it's gonna like that, or maybe you'll putt too fast, too slow. You're like that'll mess you up. But with the right mechanics, it doesn't matter if you're nervous or not. The disc still goes to the exact same spot. Like the nerves don't really affect it. So those are the two things. But watch the video on putting anxiety. Best all-time downhill hole. Oak Grove with a Whammo or De La Vega today. Oh God. Yeah, it's hard to argue with hole 17. I don't care what number they call it now. The old hole 17 at Oak Grove Park. I mean, I wouldn't call it the best downhill hole. I would say the top of the world at De La Vega is the most iconic hole in the world. It's hard to argue with hole 18 at De La Vega. I mean, now it's hole 27 at De La Vega. Best downhill hole. Yeah, it's got to be. It has to be De La Vega. But I mean, Joe, I got a special place for hole 17 at Oak Grove. I never aced that hole in its original spot either. It's just one of those. Like now, I would jump putt it and make it like every 12th time or something. But I never got a hole in one in that hole, which is insane. How does the Baobab fly? The Baobab is amazing. It's a novelty. It's a utility disc. Basically, okay, this is the best way to describe it. If the Tilt and the Berg had sex, they would make a Baobab. Well, that's what it is. If you understand what a Tilt and a Berg do, you'll know. Then you know exactly how a Baobab flies. Super overstable. Is Aaron Gossage really that good, or once a season kind of thing? No, Aaron's that good. Aaron is. I mean, he's had a couple top 3 finishes, hasn't he? I think he's had a couple podiums this year. Of course, he's that good. Yeah, no, Aaron. Well, first off, everybody out there is that good. I mean, nobody can finish second place at the World Championships and not be great. Like, there's no fluky players. You can't have 5 fluky rounds. But he is. I think Aaron will win a world title before we're done here. And I wouldn't even put a cap on 1, but he's definitely there's 20 players that I would put in that group with Aaron. Like you have a couple, Ricky and Paul. I would say Calvin, Dickerson, Simon. There's a couple people that you kind of have it like maybe at a tier. And then you have this other tier with about 30 other people that are all that good. And by that good, I mean, on average, they average, a stroke around behind the top tier, which is nothing. But that's according to the rating. They're about a stroke around behind. So like they're that close. So it's hard to even say. It's not even second tier. It's like a half tier behind. You aced with a black master frisbee. No, I believe it. I mean, it's what is it like? It's like a 150-foot downhill hole. But it's just one of those ones I never got. There's no reason why I never got it. I just never got it. Well, maybe because I was 10, 10 years old when I was playing it, but still should have. I still should have got it. I mean, I unloaded my bag on it enough times. In fact, I think me and you unloaded our bag on it enough times, Joe. We probably should have got it by now. You fear that you'll never be able to throw farther than Eagle Man. How do you cope with this? I wouldn't know. No, Eagle throws farther than me now. Definitely. I still throw farther than most of the players out there, but not all of them. That's all the questions? All right. Y'all, let's go real quick. If there's no more questions, no one has relationship advice questions. I'm like an expert. Y'all have no idea. All right. So Stokely Universe discs at scottstokely.net. Y'all can get these. This is these are all on Discraft Buzzes, full color hot stamps by Creative Rob is the artist, and it's part of a series we're coming out with that are well, there's going to be more in the series. You can check out the Stokely Universe shirts. Let's see. Yeah, these are the Stokely Universe shirts. You can buy my book and the audiobook, Scott Stokely Growing Up Disc Golf. I don't want to brag or anything, but this is the finest piece of literature ever put to paper. Yeah, I'll stand by that. I got tons of Tour Series discs, some of them signed up on the website. I also have barbecue sauce, 4 different flavors of barbecue sauce at scottstokely.net. But here's the big thing. If y'all are interested in my 6-month online Become a Complete Disc Golfer class, it is really good. And the people that are taking the class are all just blown away by how much better it's working out than they had hoped for. Because they were unsure, because it's an online, how can online class help with disc golf, right? But they took a leap of faith because they believe in me and they believe in the videos and how I teach and my reputation. And everybody's like, oh no, that's crazy. Like, I can't believe it's working that well. I mean, that's been pretty universal. So if you go to scottstokely.net, get on the mailing list, I will be announcing those classes soon. And that's all. So, yeah, I'll definitely play better tomorrow. Today was my worst round of the year. Just yucky. Awful. And if Ezra's still watching, good luck on your date, Ezra. I can't believe you posted to the page. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Yeah. Did Ron say? What did Ron say? Good luck tomorrow in the future. Oh, man, I'm ready for the future. All right. Thanks, everybody.